Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Zamora two-player podcast. I'm joined again by my brother Matt Zamora.
Hey everyone.
And I'm Garrett Zamora, as you remember. Matt's back to the mainland, back from his trip, so more reliable internet that we could sit down and do another episode.
Exactly. More reliable internet, more reliable time difference.
Time difference, yeah.
Yeah,
We're only
exactly.
like an hour different now as opposed to, I don't even know what we were, like 13 hours or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I was in the future.
Yeah, that's right. You were ahead. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I think what we're gonna talk about today, we're gonna take a little pause on like the FF specific discussion. Got to space it out.
Guaranteed we'll go into
Yeah, we will return. But one thing that we kind of glossed over a little bit in like previous episodes, that I think would kind of fit together well, because they're all um, sort of loosely related to like holiday visiting and like family visiting. So we're gonna roll a couple of these topics up into one. Mostly talking about visiting our two sets of cousins on our mother's and father's side, and then Matt used to come home for the holidays when that was like when you were doing like your PhD and stuff. So you were very busy, didn't have a lot of time for games. And he would always come home and I'd have like a list of like, all right, here's your homework for this like 2 or 3 weeks. And so we thought it'd be fun to talk about some of that stuff. So
and especially like with a lot of this podcast, a lot of it revolving around nostalgia, and kind of, especially when we'll talk about these visits from our cousins and stuff like that. And so I'm hoping a lot of everyone out there had similar experiences of gaming back in those days when you couldn't game online.
Right.
Multiplayer was in person, and
Right.
there's just the two of us. We're the only kind of two children in the family. So when our cousins would come over, that's when things could really get into party mode. So
Yeah.
I hope a lot of people had the same experience.
And it's actually like some inspiration from like other podcasts and stuff that I listen to that made me want to start doing this, is like listening to those stories of theirs and being like, oh, like, you can relate so well to that because I know we have a bunch of our own, similar stories. And it's just fun stuff to talk about. And as we've discovered, I have a terrible memory, so I forget very, crucial moments that you generally fill me in on, and that's been a lot of fun. So so yeah,
perfect.
So yeah, back to the main episodes. We did do another side quest episode last week, I think. Yeah, it was last weekend, with Silver Deeds, who's a cosplayer and speedrunner. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's up there on the channel now, and she was a blast to have on. So I really recommend it.
And the episode was awesome. Kind of, I watched that episode on my way back from the trip, so that was really cool. She was a lot of fun. So thank you, Silver Deeds, for being on the pod. That was really cool, and nice interview. That was really great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I just love, like, cosplay is one of those things that like I know is hard, but I just had no idea how intense it was, and hearing all that stuff from her was really eye opening, and just it's impressive. So I just love hearing about that kind of stuff. She does Final Fantasy themed cosplay, so obviously it got my attention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, therefore, I.e. coolest person ever. So
yeah, exactly. So one quick thing, that's just funny that this stuff all happened since the last, since our last sit down when we were talking about Final Fantasy music, and even before that when we were talking about things like GoldenEye and our Game Boy memories and stuff. Literally since the last episode, GoldenEye came out on Xbox Game Pass, and so I've been playing that a little bit. It's only on like the streaming version for PC, but so it's not the best, but enough to get to sort of scratch that nostalgia itch.
And it's because it was an anniversary or something like that, right?
I think so.
Like
I mean, I never thought it would ever come out because it'd be a licensing nightmare. Because not only is it like the James Bond license, but it's like the actors' faces
Yeah.
that are still in it. Like it's still Pierce Brosnan on that, polygon face.
Maybe like technology's developed so much that they're unrecognizable by today's
Yeah.
standards. So all the
It's a free
licensing,
for all.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've breached a certain point.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that happened, and then so Nintendo Switch Online, if you're an online like member or whatever, they've had classic like NES and Super NES that you can just down like it's kind of like almost like a cloud service, but they're playable offline, I think, as long as you check in your membership every I don't know how often it checks, but as long as you're still a member, you can just download those or not even download, just play them because they're built right into the app for NES and Super NES. And literally since our last, couple episodes, they added Game Boy. And Link's Awakening is one of the games. And like literally the games I talked about, it was like Mario Land 2, Link's Awakening, Kirby's Dream Land, and Tetris are four of the games on the collection that are there. It was like,
So clearly, some important people are listening to our podcast.
yeah, they were ready to launch it as soon as they heard us talking about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it.
All right. Well, so everyone listening who's been making all sorts of waves, keep it up.
Yeah,
The
that's
army
right.
is working. So
Yeah, yeah, give us that FF13 remaster.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
after
Go
our
through our wish list.
yeah, after our Final Fantasy 13 music discussion, there's this theater rhythm. It's like Final Fantasy theater rhythm game,
Hmm,
which is basically like a rhythm game with the controller, and it's
okay.
like music from every Final Fantasy. And like I knew that was coming out, but I'm just like, after we did our episode, I was like, probably because it was on my brain. I was like, oh, let me try the demo, and I was like, well, I'm buying this, and I have, and I've gotten all the way up to Final Fantasy 15 on like, it's not every song from because like, obviously that'd be insane, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
10 or 15 tracks from every Final Fantasy, and then a
Oh,
bunch of
awesome.
the spin-offs. So yeah, it's just been like we were talking about Final Fantasy music, and I played that demo. I was like, well, I'm buying this, like no
Yeah.
question. And I've probably put like a good 20 hours into it already. It's so much fun.
Well, if they're smart, what they'll do is they'll release it on something that does not have trophies, and then they'll release it again on a different platform,
So
so
it
that
is
you'll
on
buy it.
PS. Yeah, that's what they should have done because they put it out on PS4/5. So
No,
I got it right
they're
away.
only you're only going to buy it once. Then
Yeah,
that's a missed
that's right.
opportunity.
That's right. Okay. Anyway, so I just thought those were funny things that happened since our last, couple of episodes because it was all literally stuff we were talking at length about. So,
Yeah. Oh,
I thought
awesome.
that was pretty good. So, first, what we'll talk about is so our cousins, Chris and Scott, are our cousins on our dad's side, and they live like not far away, but like when you're a kid, it might as well be another country.
Yeah.
They're only like an hour and a half drive technically, but
Max.
we
Yeah.
would literally see them at Christmas and that's it. We would never see them. I mean, rarely we would maybe see them in the summer once in a while, but
Or Easter or something. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. But usually it was just part of like the Christmas sort of, um, routine of going up there for a day or two,
Yeah.
or a couple days. Usually it was more than that when we were younger because we didn't have anything. We weren't didn't work or anything, so it was
Yeah.
we were on school break or whatever. So we had 2 weeks to do all these visits. Um, so there's two main games that I want to talk about that I have vivid memories about. One that I don't remember if we got it from them or we just played it there. And
So
then I'll see what you have for memories about the games we played over there too.
I
Um,
have, yeah, I have four games, two of which are vivid, one which was kind of once in a while, and then one that was kind of an awakening kind of game. So
okay,
I've got a good list. I got a
that
good
one
list.
might be the same as one I'm going to talk about too. So we'll see if
Okay.
if these line up. Um, so what I remember, and this is like the first thing I think of when I remember playing games over there because they had an NES. I
Yeah.
believe. I don't think we brought ours. No, because they had the game, so they had
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there's a stupid NES soccer game Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
looked it up. It's called, I think it's called World Cup Soccer is what
Yeah,
it's called.
that's what is World Cup soccer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and I just, the thing I remember about this stupid game. First of all, the music was great. Because I was
yeah,
looking up a video to like today just to like try and remember. As soon as I
refresh.
saw it, I would know it's that one.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I was just like on YouTube or whatever, and I was like, oh man, I know, like I remembered the music as soon as I heard it. I could like,
yeah,
it like came flooding back. But the thing I remember with that stupid game is you had some like super kick move
yeah.
that you could do, and it was like unblockable. Like it was a free goal every time, but it would like only, you could only use it like certain number of times in a game, and then you do the move, but it would just kick it like normally. And
Yeah,
it was, the goalie could block it or whatever. But it's like when that ran out, we're like, this game sucks.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just who can get the ball and who can do the super kick first.
Because all it was one player passes it to the other player, and you got to hit both A
It
and
was, yeah,
B
A and B. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they'd essentially do like a scissor kick, whatever,
Yeah.
hit the ball, and so what I remember is not only was it unblockable in that the goalie, if the goalie was in the way, he would just like knock him
Yeah, it
down
would
and
like,
throw it in the net.
it would, yeah, bash him real good, and
Yeah,
he would just be like unconscious.
or he'd like dive but wouldn't make it, whatever. Like it
Yeah.
was just, and I think you got something like, I don't know, nine a half or whatever. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
end end of the half, 9-9. uh, and then whoever got a free goal over the course of like the whole game,
Because
oh, they got
because
one real goal. No, they're gonna win.
because we didn't know how to like play the game.
No.
Like how do you, like sports games, you got to like figure out sort of the nuance to it to try and get those goals or whatever. And
Yeah.
like we didn't know what the, the proper strategy was. So
Uh,
when we were out of super kicks, it's just, I just keep firing it in and one of them will get through.
and I think we ultimately figured out that like if so it's side scroller up and down because it's a 3/4 perspective whatever.
Right.
And so if you shot it at an angle at the goalie, he'd kind of like dive to get it, and it would like rebound this way. And if you had
Sure.
someone, so if you shot it on an angle, if
Oh,
someone
then
could
you
get
could, yeah, like someone
so
could assist, and I
if
think I
someone could get
remember
the
that.
rebound, yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, it was ridiculous. The other thing I remember is that so you picked your country, whatever. I don't think there are any advantage to having like it's not like Brazil was the best team. It's you know what I mean? But every team had a different super kick. Some of them would go like or some of them would go
Oh,
like
yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Like same effect. It would go through the goalie, but
Right.
every team's
It would
some
like
would like
have a different visual or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, just more of a visual thing. Yeah, exactly. But
I
anyway,
just
we
remember when
played
we'd run out of those, like, this game sucks. It's just,
a- and like there's like three different looks to a character, and then it would just be
yeah.
palette swap
Oh,
on the other side.
and there's, oh, what game is it? There's a beat 'em up
Uh,
that is the exact same. I feel like River City Ransom, maybe. God, I'd have to look to find. But there's a beat 'em up. I'm sure it's by the same developer. Like
yeah,
knowing
yeah.
what I
They
know
just
now,
use that
it's
template in
it
this game. Yeah,
literally, it was like those three characters over and over,
yeah,
and and it's just a, because they all just look
yeah,
like this. I don't know.
yeah.
And it's like I know, that's why I knew as soon as I see it, I'll know like I'll remember, like when I was trying to figure out what game it was, like I see one of those models that walk around all blocky like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'll immediately know that's the one. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
very distinct. Very look. But
Oh,
yeah, World
that
Cup Soccer. If anyone wants to look it up, that's definitely the game.
oh,
And
that was classic. That was
AB is your secret. If you
yeah.
find someone that doesn't know that game, just fucking super kick that thing every time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so classic.
uh, oh,
Uh,
you go ahead.
as another part of just going to see Chris and Scott and playing games at their place, like I remember there's several different iterations because like they had bunk beds, and so we'd sometimes like play on top of the bunk beds,
Yeah.
or like sitting on the end of the bed, like our legs over the wooden like frame, and like
Yeah.
our legs would just like all be completely asleep by the end
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it.
That's true. I forgot that.
Like, blankets, forts kind of everywhere. Like it was just like a total close the door, adults are in the kitchen kind of whatever, and we're just like in in video game land with
Until
like
they tell
pop.
us until they realize we're not asleep yet and come in and yell at us to
Yeah.
go to sleep.
Yeah, just like so might as well have been in a movie set in the 80s kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
like popping chips, playing games. Oh, we're supposed to be asleep, but let's play one more round of World Cup soccer,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, just classic.
Yeah. Oh man, that is like the first game I think of when I think of playing games
Yeah,
at their place.
yeah,
Um
same.
one that I'm like this is the one where I'm unsure. I feel like I remember playing Legend of Dragoon on PS1
Oh,
at their house. I don't remember if they had it or if like
hmm.
we maybe bought it when we were like at the mall on a visit and started playing it there. But I distinctly remember their like PlayStation was set up like in their parents' bedroom or something. And I remember sitting on like a big bed
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
playing Legend of Dragoon, but I honestly couldn't remember if that was our PS1 and we just bought the game while we were visiting, but
Hmm.
I don't know if you have much memory of
No,
that
I don't
one.
have any memory of that actually. But I mean, when it was in the PlayStation era, maybe I wasn't there, or something like that. But
That's
yeah,
also possible, yeah, or it could have been like a summer visit or something. But
yeah.
that's one I can't quite remember. I remember we had that game because I played it
Yeah.
all the way through, thinking it was a Final Fantasy game because they just used the word dragoon. That's literally why I wanted to play that game, and it ended up being a
Reasonable
fun game.
assumption.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah, yeah,
game.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, Kane is in this game? Great.
yeah, exactly. Like, who's Dart? That's not Kane. What the heck?
Yeah, yeah, what the hell? Come on.
So anyway, so that's like not as vivid, but I just remember I have memories of there. Before I get into my big one, because that's the only
Mm,
other one I that comes to mind. Give me some
yeah.
of yours that you remember.
So I remember like some of the Ninja Gaiden ones playing at their place.
Okay, yeah,
Kind of like just they would always have it, or a friend of theirs or something had it, and so I remember like just that style of game. Some of these like side scroller, like speedrunner friendly kind of things like that.
sure, yeah.
But that,
I
and
can
then
remember that too. Yeah, I feel like we played the first Ninja Turtles game at their house a lot.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or any of them really. But okay, I've got my like definite remember, but you do yours first, and then I'll see if it's the same.
So, uh, one thing that took over is Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
So,
that was next level.
yeah. Is
Yeah.
that the one you were talking about?
No, I kind of wrote that as we were talking. It's like, oh wait, no, yeah,
Okay.
Guitar Hero too. So,
Sure.
um,
So,
but
yeah, like I think they had Guitar Hero 2 when we visited them that first year that it was whatever
yeah,
in its height popularity. Um and like I've had an affinity for rhythm games since then. I just enjoy them,
yeah,
as evidenced by buying that Final Fantasy rhythm game. Like it's
yeah,
literally that's what it's making me feel,
yeah,
is that same sort of satisfaction. um I do remember they only had one guitar, and playing
yeah,
with the controller sucked.
yeah.
It
Oh,
was
totally.
it was clearly just like slapdash, like no one's gonna play this way. Just make it work somehow.
Yeah, yeah,
Because the
yeah,
buttons, I mean, it's hard to like, they're all horizontal, and so how do you map out like four
yeah.
buttons, in a
It's
diamond
like here's
shape?
an option for you, but use the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it would
yeah,
just be like you'd get one turn with the guitar, and then you had to pass it off, and then you get a stupid turn on the controller, and then
yeah, yeah.
um
Um,
but
but
I or you go ahead.
yeah, yeah, kind of like, but that was our way of we'd come into existence playing that way anyway. Like, oh, we're playing
Yeah.
this one player game. You pass the controller around. Oh, we pass around the
Yeah,
guitar. I guess. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was the same. It was the same thing. Um, and like, so like for me, that ended up leading to like Guitar Hero 3. Well, first, so I had like some leftover student loan money from
Yeah,
like college at that point, and I
yeah.
just like bought a PS2 and Guitar Hero with when I got home, like probably within like a month or something.
Oh, man.
I think it, yeah, probably would have been like when I got back to school that year. It's like I knew I didn't need it, I didn't
Yeah,
need more of that money for books or something. And I
yeah,
was
yeah.
just like, because they would give a little extra, so
Yep.
for people, especially, you know, if someone was like living and had to pay rent and stuff too. I didn't,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
anyway, I had just a couple hundred extra or something, and I
yeah.
was like, well, Guitar Hero would cost less than that.
Yeah.
I'll just buy that. And then I
Amazing.
played the crap out of that, and then I got Guitar Hero 3 on the Wii. Um, and then that led to like Rock Band, and I had that at like a lot of college parties and stuff. And
Oh, yeah,
uh,
no,
you
that
know,
was, like, like, when I was in grad school, like, we'd kind of play that. There'd be a party going on, but with, like, Guitar Hero going on in the corner and just,
yeah,
be like, "I'm gonna play this whatever, beer pong, da 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 da," like, "Oh, hey, there's Guitar Hero over there." Like,
yeah, yeah, it
yeah,
was a
yeah. Or
staple.
Rock Band, yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, when it was
yeah.
the full group, yeah. And
Um,
like the funniest like thing, I'll always remember this when I hear this song. I think it excuse me, it was Rage Against the Machine. I think it was Killing in the Name of.
sure.
I think that's the song that's on Guitar Hero 2. Whichever Rage Against the Machine song is in the second Guitar Hero. I just
Yeah,
remember our cousin Scott, who was really into that type of music,
yeah.
because it was mostly covers. Like they had some original recordings of music in Guitar Hero
Right.
2, but a lot of it was
Yeah,
covers, like made for the game.
yeah.
And the one thing I'll remember is just like him constantly being like, man, it's a good cover, but he's just not angry enough. It's like I'll always remember that, like that critique of that cover song
And
every time I hear
legit,
it.
and a legit critique.
Yeah, yeah,
But no, I remember too, like, yeah, Scott is quite musical and kind of plays bass and like is a very talented musician. And I remember him just being like, "Look, I'm glad everyone's into my world right now, but like, just know there are some, so I have some critiques here. I have some notes."
yeah, yeah,
But there are a lot of songs that like I kind of and I listen to a lot of music, but there are a lot of songs that I would the first time I'd really appreciated it or whatever was from Guitar
yeah.
Hero.
I found like
And
it like a handful of bands that I probably still have their music on my like Spotify playlist to this day.
yeah,
That I like found them on Guitar Hero.
it's funny because like I Rush is now one of my favorite bands, and I never even heard of Rush until YYZ was on
Oh,
Guitar
that was
Hero
on Guitar Hero. That's
one
right.
or two,
I think it
whichever
was the
one.
second one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, the reason Rush is so amazing is I mean, the drummer is amazing, but like, the bassist Geddy Lee is also incredible. And so, Scott had been loving Rush for like 10 years. And I was like, you know who's awesome? Rush. And then Scott being like, I've been telling you that for 10 years. Like,
Yeah, but now the game
there's
told me.
yeah, but no, the game told me, and then he's
You
just
know
like, "Oh
Rush,
my
right?
god, you guys."
Have you heard of Rush? It's on Guitar Hero.
Yeah, have you heard of Rush? They're pretty awesome. And it's like YYZ like is anyway, they have so many better tracks than that, but that's the one that was on Guitar Hero, and he's just
Yeah.
like, "That's not even a vocal track. God damn it, you guys! Like seriously, get your head up. Like, come on." Everyone being so angry. But he has like happy angry. I'm happy that you're in my
Yeah.
world, but god damn it, you're an idiot.
Yeah. I've done that before with friends where so I watch Critical Role.
Mm,
This was Dungeons and Dragons like podcast, or not podcast, but like a show.
yeah,
And my friend tried to tell me about it for like 2 years. And I just
yeah,
randomly found it. I was on Twitch one day and I don't
yeah,
even know how I found it. But I was like, oh, like this is pretty good. Like, I was like,
yeah.
hey, I was like, hey, Jordan, have you seen this? I was like, God damn it. Same reaction.
Like just like what the crap?
Yeah. Yeah, so I know that feeling. And sometimes it just bounces off you until,
Yeah.
something like a game or some other factor just like dials it right in. And you're like, "Ooh, this thing's cool. Have you guys seen this before?"
Yeah. That's when you get, like, slapped in the face or,
Yeah.
like, something thrown at you kinda thing, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember Scott being both happy and angry
Sure.
at just that, but anyway, no, it's all kind of from Guitar Hero, so,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So yeah, that and the soccer game are my two like
Mm.
biggest memories I have of our visits there and stuff.
So the other 2 that I have, so one that I have a vivid memory of is so we would always bring the game, the, Friday the 13th game,
Oh my
the, like
god, yes.
or the Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Nightmare on
was
Elm Street
Nightmare
was
on
the
Elm Street. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that
yeah.
game was the
Uh,
worst. It was
oh
so
god.
hard.
It was so hard. So what the hardest part of that game is like a stupid mechanic, and I don't can you remember this? Like, so the
No.
game's premise is you're
Because these were
nin-
important in NES games.
yeah, story. It was all about story in that. in
Yeah.
that. Like you'd be on Elm Street and whatever, and then as your sleep meter filled up or whatever, you'd go into dream world,
Okay. I
and
remember that.
all the enemies would turn into like very ghostly, ghoulish
Yeah.
version. Like instead of like these eagles flying around, they'd be bats, or instead of
Yeah.
um,
I do remember that sort of transition.
thugs,
Yeah.
they'd be skeletons or whatever. And so, and in Dream World, you could turn into like a ninja or
Oh my god.
whatever, like by hitting select or something. So you didn't just need to be punching; you could be
Sure.
throwing stars. So in Dream World, you could assume it anyway. And then you, at the end of the level, dungeon, whatever, you'd fight some sort of dream enemy, and like
Right.
being us, like oh, it's like you fight over who gets to be the ninja. The ninja is the best
Sure.
is the best job. When we were kids, oh man, obviously a ninja. It's like, oh, but
Yeah.
you could be a wizard, you could be nope, ninja.
No,
Ninja's the
no.
only
Ninja
cool
every
thing.
time.
Ninja every time. Anyway, so yeah, the platforming was tricky and whatever, but it was hard. The hardest part of that whole game would be because you'd be on the street and all the dungeons, you could do them in whatever order. Um, but you'd have to like hit up. It was like pixel perfect up in order to get into the up the stairs and into the mansion. So I'd be like, nope, 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 like, nope. Yes, okay, there you go. And it kind of had a little bit of a lag, so it was just like there was one particular house where it was like pixel perfect,
I
like
just couldn't get
frame
in.
perfect, whatever. And then like you'd get it, we'd just be like the loudest we would cheer is like when we could get
It's
into
just getting
that
in
house.
the door.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Anyway, it was so finicky, but that game was really fun because it was a two-player co-op. Um,
Yep.
but if you had whatever multi-tap existed for the NES, you could play four players. I don't think we ever did it because I don't know if we ever
I
had
know
one.
we didn't have a multi-tap, but I don't know if they ever had one at some point.
No. And maybe we had it once, like a friend of theirs
Yeah.
had it, and then we could play, and like God knows how that thing wouldn't just be like lag-orific with four
Yeah.
kind of people co-op
Yeah, I can't
on the
even
same street.
imagine.
And maybe what I'm thinking of is like if they emulated it on a ROM and made it four-player possible. I don't
Sure.
know, but anyway, two-player co-op games were gold when we
Yeah.
were growing up, and that was a really fun game.
Did
Hard, but really good.
did we play the Simpsons game there a lot, or did we just play that on our own? Or,
Bart's
yeah,
versus the Space Mutants.
yeah.
Yeah,
I f-
we definitely played the crap out of
I think
that
that might
game.
have just been one we had then. I don't think that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
necessarily at their place, but just because it
yeah.
in my mind it had a very similar vibe to the Nightmare on Elm Street one, just for how absolutely brutal it
The
was.
controls were, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But that was an awesome game, and I remember playing that a lot with them, and it'd be like, yeah, because there were different houses, and no matter which house you went into, it'd be the same progression of the dungeons. Like it wasn't
Okay,
really pick your dungeon. You go into one house, whatever house it is, here's dungeon one.
gotcha.
And so we'd like say, okay, let's just start out trying to get in that like,
The tough one.
ridiculously hard one. And then it's done. And it's not like we're 6 levels in and we can't get in the anyway, it was
Right, lower
I gotta look
stakes.
this up. Yeah, I gotta see if there's a speed run of that. I'd love to watch it. But
There's
just
probably
to
some
like,
insight into that specific door and why it's
uh,
brutal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or maybe it was because our controllers were
Yeah.
destroyed from playing Mega Man
Yeah,
3.
that could be it.
Yeah, but anyway, who
Hold
knows?
on, I
But
gotta move 1 inch to the left.
yeah,
Gah! Just to
get the chair.
register it. Yeah, get a
Yeah, yeah.
chair.
Smash a chair over the controller and it'll move forward 1 pixel. Uh,
Oh
oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, okay, I do remember that game. And I definitely had memories of that game. I just forgot that was a go-to. We definitely played that a lot at their house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I definitely had memories of that game in general. But yeah, that's one we definitely played a lot there.
The last one I have on my list was that is where we were introduced to Mortal Kombat. Um, was
Oh,
on the SNES.
okay.
So
I didn't know that.
and we didn't even know, like it was just like, oh, we have this new game on the SNES. And I think that wasn't just like Chris and Scott. That was like a reunion of a lot of cousins. Like that was
Sure.
like Jerry and Tammy and like, Chris and Scott and Daniel and a whole bunch of people.
Okay.
And it was like in the main living room, kind of where the fireplace is, and
Hmm.
they're on the TV, SNES. I was like, oh yeah, this new game, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, what the hell is this? Like, oh, it's this new thing that's like it's all over the news because people are like losing their minds that
Yeah.
it's so violent, whatever. But on the SNES, it was just like gray sweat, instead of
Yeah,
blood.
it was censored on this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't blood.
But that was like we were just like, whoa, this game, because it been Street Fighter for
Yeah.
us forever, and
And they
then
used like a whole different like graphic like it's Street Fighter was like hand drawn sprites where these were
yeah,
like motion capture
yeah, like motion captured
animations.
sprites or something. Yeah,
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 yeah. So it was
yeah,
just like a very it definitely looked smoother animation wise
yeah,
than Street Fighter did. Did you know? Just speaking of all like how that game was on the news and stuff. Do you know
yeah,
that's why we have an ESRB? Is that game?
yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah.
What there's something on Netflix that I was watching, some series, documentary or whatever, but like, yeah, it talked about the ESRB and US Congress, like, just like going crazy over this. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
totally, totally.
that's where
Um,
that's at least. I mean, we would have ended up there eventually, I'm sure. But
yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
definitely kickstarted it for
yeah. But
primarily.
so anyways, Mortal Kombat, kind of first time we played that, and it was just like, oh, there are characters that look like ninjas. These are my favorite characters. So like that's immediately why, like, Scorpion will forever be like one of my favorites, because
Yep.
growing up it was just like, oh, ninja, perfect, done,
Yeah,
favorite
I'm good.
character. Yeah.
um,
um
I didn't because yeah, we wouldn't have like seen it in arcades because we didn't really have good arcades where we live. So it's like
and
I
like that
don't
was
think
just
we would
a
have seen it.
no, and like, yeah, we didn't go to a lot of arcades, just especially because it was like is money I didn't have. Like I didn't have
True.
it's like we'd buy a game, we'd play the crap out of it,
Yep.
but like disposable income to kind of go to the arcade, yeah, especially at that time of our lives, yeah.
Yeah, and because like when we're that age, like where we live, like where Matt and I
Mm,
grew up, we lived kind of like fairly far for a kid
yeah,
from like downtown. It was like a 3 kilometer walk to the nearest bus stop, and then it was like 20-minute bus ride,
yeah.
like to
We
get
lived in
into
the middle of
town.
nowhere.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
lived kind of out in the boonies, so just getting to an arcade would have kind of been challenging
yeah,
regularly to do just without getting drives or whatever. So yeah, even if it was at one of the arcades in the city we lived, we rarely ever got got out there. So yeah, we would have totally missed Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
until we saw it there.
And I feel like it was on the SNES, but like it was almost like Nintendo wasn't really singing from the rooftops that MK was on the NES.
Sure.
Like it's not like it was on the front of Nintendo Power or anything like that. They're like, look, we know we can make some money off this because it's going to
Sure.
be a phenomenon,
The
but
first
like,
one probably, yeah, was I imagine it was probably less coverage. Once it
yeah,
became more popular, because I remember seeing the later games
yeah,
in Nintendo Power because they give you that's how you get all the moves because
yeah,
couldn't just
yeah.
look them up on the internet.
No, exactly. But Mortal Kombat, to me, as a tiny sidebar, like when I think Mortal Kombat, and nostalgically, it's like Mortal Kombat 2 at Jacques,
Yes.
playing in the basement.
Yeah.
And like there's literally a smell that that would like a memory to me of like the basement at Jacques, playing MK2,
Sure.
staying up all night, popping Muriel coming down with popping chips kind of thing. Like that is a critical anchor
Yeah.
of like
Well,
my childhood memories.
that's probably why I don't associate it as much as being at Kristen Scott's because
Mm,
because that would have been the first one, and
yeah.
then the
Yep.
MK2 was later, and I remember that at our other cousin Jacques' house
Yeah.
a lot more strongly. So I forgot that the first one was
Yeah.
kind of originated at their place.
Yeah. No, totally. So and then like I don't think we ever owned MK1,
Probably not the
but
first one. We
yeah,
got
yeah,
subsequent ones.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, definitely not the first one, I don't think.
And MK2 might have been on PlayStation, or
No,
was
that
that on
was no, it was
SNES?
on SNES up until 3
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
remember having that oh god, or was that N64? No. It was still 2D. So it would have
Yeah, I
been
think
Super
like
Nintendo.
Ultimate MK3 was on PlayStation. Or and
Maybe it was
N64.
re-released. I'd have to look them up. I feel like
Yeah.
all the versions of 3 were still on SNES. Because
Yeah.
they were just like what DLC would be now. It was just like the game with more characters or more stages or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was
yeah.
still essentially the same game. So I'm pretty sure it was still all Super Nintendo.
Man,
I
those
it's
look
when
pretty
it
good. Look good for SNES.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
they were very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the only reason why I'm pretty certain it was on Super Nintendo is because using an N64 controller for that game would have a lot
Oh,
more traumatizing memories for me. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
being like, oh, like decent with the controller, so that's why I think it was SNES.
It's hard
Uh,
to get hard to get the Tekken grip on the
yeah,
N64 controller.
yeah, it doesn't work. Doesn't
Yeah.
work, and that grip doesn't work for MK anyway.
No, I was about to say the Tekken grip is called the Tekken grip for
Yeah,
a reason.
yeah,
So yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
but
that's a good one to bring up too. I totally forgot that started at their place.
yeah. But no, okay, so no, that's those are my like staples that I can
Okay.
think of for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what we'll do then, we'll take a super quick break, and then so our other cousins, Mike and Nick, on our mom's side, they would come. I forget, and I always forget like when did this start. I definitely was like middle school age, so around like the I don't know, like 10-year-old, 12-year-old, like when we were in that age range, I feel like
That sounds about right.
until like high school.
Yeah.
Um they would come over. They started coming over like every Sunday night.
Yeah.
So we got a couple things I'm sure you'll probably have some to fill in some of my blanks.
Yeah.
But I got a couple I want to bring up that I have distinct memories of playing with them in our basement every Sunday. So we'll
Yeah.
take a super quick break and then we'll come back and we'll talk about that stuff.
Beauty. Okay, cool.
Cool.
See you in a minute.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So we're going to, like I said, we got some stories to tell about. We were talking about our cousins on our dad's side, some gaming memories there, and so Mike and Nick are our cousins on our mom's side, like I said, and uh, I feel like it was like I said, it was around middle school age, but I think it's because they had like either taekwondo or like cadets or
Yeah.
something.
I think it was
Um,
Taekwondo. Yeah.
and it was
Some
like
yeah,
Sunday nights or Sunday afternoons, whatever, in like downtown where we live, which is like 15-minute drive, if you're not on a bus or anything, like like a car drive.
yeah.
um and previously we would only see our cousins, these cousins, like same similar thing,
Same
like
yeah, yeah.
2 or 3, like on a birthday, and around Christmas or something.
It's
um
it's it's because they lived light years away,
yeah.
like 40
I.e.,
minutes to an
yeah,
hour.
40 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so and the thing with where they lived, it's like it's in no way near anything else we ever would go like see or do. Like it's
yeah,
very much 40 minutes away from civilization,
yeah,
in the
yeah,
opposite direction. So it just worked out that we didn't get to see them much. But then once they started having these, yeah, like you said, I think it was Taekwondo. Um, Mike will correct me. So I think I've said this before. I live in Mike's house now. That's like how close we are as cousins. Is I rent the basement apartment out of the house they bought.
yeah.
So he'll correct
So
me
he
tomorrow
he
if I
can
say
he
it
can
wrong.
fact check you.
Yeah, he'll fact check me real quick. Um, so anyway, once I started having these things in town, I don't even know like if there was like a thing, like it was like a birthday or something that they came over for a special reason one Sunday, or they just did
Yeah.
it like, oh, let's just pop in and see them or whatever. And how should I put this? We were very excitable kids when we were younger. So especially when we would uh, like Mike and Nick are they're like this. They were the same age as
Same
us.
age.
Like
Yeah.
Matt and I are 2 years apart, and they were too, within the same 2 year sort of stretch.
Mhm.
So we all just like got along super well. We were into games, and you know what I mean. Like we were all very much into the same stuff. Um, and so like we were already excitable children, and then
Yeah.
getting the four of us into a room, especially unsupervised.
Yeah,
They
especially if there any amount of sugar was consumed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That led to just some silly, wild evenings. But so I feel like in the early Sunday night visits, that was like on overdrive. Like it was like that for the first probably like couple weeks, and I think it evened out to like we were still very excited, and there always was that element to it. And I distinctly remember like me and you would be down in the basement playing something, and you'd
Yeah.
know they were home because you just hear on the stairs coming downstairs. Like they would just come like trampling down the stairs,
'Cause,
as
like,
fast as you could.
Uncle Harry would kind of, take them from Taekwondo to our place, just like, "Oh, we're already in town. Let's go visit, Matt and Garrett and, parents and da 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 da." And so it'd be like they'd be in the car. You could essentially assume they were in the car, like clawing at the windows.
Yeah.
And then he would open the door, and they would just like, "Hey, Aunt B," and just like like a drive by
Yeah.
going down into the basement. Go, 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 go. And then just like instant cousin time.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, it was like the highlight.
Of the
I, I'm
week.
I'm 100% confident that it was the highlight of the week for all four of us.
Yeah.
Like,
And
yeah,
and it was like you get like the Sunday night blues where it's like, like back then it was school or work.
yeah,
Now it's like, oh man, like back to school tomorrow, like for another week. And it was
yeah,
like the perfect way to just like live in denial for a few hours and
yeah,
just like
yeah,
ignore
yeah,
that and just, have fun. Um, and I feel like there were definitely times when like we would just forget that it's Sunday night almost
yeah,
like you just kind of we're in the middle of a game or something, and
yeah.
you just hear it's like, oh my
It,
god, they're here. Like
yeah, yeah, exactly,
just
exactly.
out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah,
So yeah, that was always super exciting. So in those visits, there were a lot of games, because that's like what we did. That's like that's all we did. That's really
yeah,
like what our pastimes were. for the most part. So kind of the same thing. I got a few games that I have like vivid memories of, and then you fill in any blanks or chime in if you have a similar memory to some of these games.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like the reason why I think it was like middle school ish because I remember mostly like PS1 memories
Yeah,
and
yeah,
N64 like in
yeah.
that era. I don't remember a ton of like SNES stuff we would have done with them. Nothing. Well, Mike and I played a lot of Tetris Attack,
That's
but
true, but
but
that
that
was the
it was
almost
like
kind of in a retro kind of way.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
so. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
God, I forgot how good that game is. Um, so anyway, so most of mine are I think all of them are PS1 or N64 centric. So yeah, like I said, just interject when you have something different. So the obvious one was like Tekken and Soul Calibur. Like that is just like assumed that we played a crap load of those games. We've talked about Mike's old
Old
reliable
reliable.
Mokujin and his Tekken ventures.
That's still
Um
like that's probably my favorite quote, all the pods that we've done. Mike's old reliable Mokujin. That's like
yeah.
that's the best.
And I'm not
Uh,
making that up. That's what he
no, I
calls
know,
it.
I totally.
Yeah. So like just assume we played some level of those games every visit. And that's where a lot of this stuff, like Mike like falling in love with playing Mokujin or picking the
Yeah.
weirdest characters, like that's where a lot of that, originated. Was from our time playing those. On the fighting game theme,
Mm.
do you remember Bloody Roar 2?
Bloody Roar 2.
So I looked up videos to like make sure it's the game because maybe I thought I was remembering the name wrong, but I
Is it
can.
the one with like like a gorilla was one of your characters or something? Or
So
uh,
no, I think you
yeah.
might be thinking of Primal Rage.
Yes, yeah, sorry, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. Yeah, yeah,
So
sorry.
this one
Okay.
is like it's more like Tekken, like it very much
Okay.
is like 3D polygonal
Yeah.
fighting game, and even
Okay.
like moves looked Tekken esque.
Okay.
I'd actually want to look. I should have looked up who was the developer. I feel like it would be probably Namco. Um, but yeah, it was, and it was like their like super was they turned into some like some bipedal or like anthropomorphic whatever. Like one of them was like Jenny the Bat, and she was kind of like Nina. She almost reminded me of like Nina from Tekken, but she would just
Yeah,
turn
yeah, yeah.
into a like a half bat, half human or whatever, and get like special moves. And there was one that turned into like a rabbit.
Yeah, no, like,
with
I
like
just looked it up and I was like,
okay,
"Oh, yep. Okay, there you go."
yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
um
That's probably one that they had and they brought over.
yes it was,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
we did not own that. I specifically remember because there was like I feel like one of the characters was like a beetle or just some stupid animal, and if
Yeah.
it was whatever the annoying one was the one Mike would keep
Oh, for
picking.
sure.
And there's some weird like Valdo-esque looking
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
in that game, and I feel
It's
like
probably
Mike
a
must have
Namco
played
thing.
him.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I looked at it, I was like, man, like, give me another version of this game. This is sick. Like, it
Yeah.
actually looked really good. Like I feel like it held up visually. Like, obviously, it looks dated because the just the nature of PS1 era
PlayStation.
games aging.
Yeah.
But like the fighting in it, like actually looked really fun. And I
Yeah.
remember we played a crap load of that game. Like we played a
Hmm.
lot of it.
Hmm.
So like yeah, remaster that game, please, because I'll play
Yeah,
that
well,
again.
apparently a lot of developers
Yeah,
are
yeah,
listening to
put
our
it on that
podcast.
list that people are listening to and giving me everything I asked for.
Yeah, yeah. No, I kind of I'm now looking at some screen caps. Like, yeah, definitely remember that. But yeah, a crap ton of Tekken and like mostly Tekken 3.
Yeah,
But then as like kind of then when like when I was at university, and so I would it wouldn't be every Sunday, but I'd come back, well, we'll get into this later, but some of the Christmas kind of games, whatever, would be like the Tekken fours or
yeah,
whatever, kind
the
of
later
along the way.
generation ones. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But no, playing a crap ton of Tekken, especially team battle.
Yes.
We all had our lot
We
like
had our like five or six, however many it was. I think it was five. I think it was three or five that you could
or
like
like
pick one
the
mode.
eight.
Was it eight?
It
Was
was
there
eight.
eight of
Yeah,
them? Oh my god.
yeah.
Okay.
But I remember like normally, say you do 8 player team battle casually with friends, whatever. It's just like, who should I pick? And it's like it takes like 10 minutes to get started. But with us, it was like, yep, I know my eight. Boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had
So,
those
but
locked in.
no, a lot of Tekken and standard, standard rules. Winner keeps playing.
Yep.
Loser passes the controller around.
Yep. It was
That was
always
just like
winner
an
stays on. Yeah.
unspoken rule. Yeah. Um, but yeah, crap ton of Tekken for sure.
Yeah.
That was my number one.
Um. Uh. I mean, we will talk, briefly about these because we've talked about them a lot before. But like, that was also in the era of like GoldenEye slash Perfect Dark.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Uh.
my two and two A.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I by that point, and oh yeah, because Mike, I think he said he still has it. I should have grabbed it. He has this weird, because like, again, we were kids in middle school or high school, so we couldn't afford brand new N64 controllers to get
Yeah.
four of them. I
Yeah.
believe we had one gray one that would like came with our
Yeah.
N64, and it was like barely hanging on, like this
Well, the
joystick.
analog stick, like definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it was a green one we had that was like our newer one. I think it
Like
was the green one.
I bought a blue one like as a grading, or I got a blue one as a grading gift at one point.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, maybe it
anyway,
wasn't green. Maybe I'm thinking of your Game Boy. You had the green
yeah, yeah,
Game Boy.
Game
That's
Boy
probably
was
what I'm
green.
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're
yeah,
right. I think it was the blue controller.
yeah,
And then they had it's like that's all we could afford for like proper controllers. So
yeah,
they had a couple like third party ones.
yeah.
And it was like this gold one that did the handles on the sides didn't go all the way down. They were kind of like
Right.
snub,
Yeah.
just I don't know why, but it
And it
was
was
like
by like,
shiny and gold.
it was
Um,
just anyway, a classic third party
yeah,
peripheral.
just looking different for the sake of looking different.
Wildcat or something like,
Mad
yeah.
Cats was one of them.
Mad Cats, yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't remember what this was, but I think he said he still has it. He still has that controller. Mike keeps
That'd be
everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
But anyway, yeah. So they had like they would bring two of like these extra like third party controllers or whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe we had one and he brought that one, but I remember Mike had that gold one.
yeah.
And just so many hours and hours playing like Perfect Dark, which is like so silly now because it's like you can see everyone's screen. Like how did
Yeah.
that? It's so it boggles my mind how we made that at all competitive
Yeah.
because you can just see what everyone's doing. Like
Yeah, it's like, oh,
there's no
Garrett's clearly
shade.
hiding out in the bathroom.
Right,
Like, I'm gonna go
yeah,
kick open the door. But I guess, like, for the most, I feel like there's a little bit of honor system there where it would be like,
true.
oh, I'm gonna try not to do that too much.
Try not to let
But
your like eyes linger to the other
yeah,
screens. Yeah, yeah, that's
yeah,
true. We definitely kind of had a rule to sort of try to stay true to that.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, God, it's just so many. And because whenever we talk about Golden, I feel like Mike always brings up. I don't know if it was a mode or if you could do this in the options, but it was like proximity mines only or something.
oh yeah, it was one of the like scenarios or whatever that you
Oh
can
yeah, there were
pick.
presets. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
And I because I remember for the longest time, Mike would say like the sound of that mine going off was like PTSD. Because you'd
yeah,
hear that and you'd be like, like this means you die now
yeah.
because there's mines everywhere. Yeah, just finding like, because I don't remember if there were ways to like maybe you could throw a mine like at because if it was mines only, you couldn't shoot it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
maybe you could like throw one at one to like blow them both up. So you had to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
because I remember we had to get creative like finding spots to hide them that
yeah,
would
yeah,
catch people out, obviously. But yeah, I remember Mike saying for the longest time how like PTSD that beep was.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
oh, yeah.
we're just like hours of all four of us only using proximity mines.
Oh, just,
Um,
like, walking on eggshells for the entire kinda game, yeah, totally.
yeah,
And just, like, perfect four-player multiplayer game,
yeah,
like, 4 of us. Oh, just, no need for loser passes the controller, just, like,
yeah,
keep going, all 4 can play the entire time, like, that
yeah.
was just built for us.
Mhm. Yeah, so vivid memories with those. Um, I I couldn't even know enough to try and look this one up, and I don't even know if it was visually distinct enough that I would clue in. There was some hockey game they brought one time,
Mhm.
and I don't know if it was just NHL whatever, or if
Yeah.
it wasn't like an arcadey style.
Okay. It's pretty,
It
like,
was
true to the real life experience kind of thing. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
like it wasn't
Yeah.
silly tackling and wasn't
Yeah.
NFL blitz or anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and like we didn't play those games much. Like we were never really into
No.
those games. But there
No.
was like because there were the rare weekends where whether it was like a holiday the next day or like they were calling for a snowstorm or something,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they would just we would get those rare, but like, oh, you guys want to stay overnight? We're like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, yes, yes,
Yeah.
please let them. Like
Eh,
that would just be like the best surprise after an already good surprise.
well,
Um,
and because just, like, a little sidebar, I vividly remember, like, we'd be in the basement, and it was just, like, Harry's voice of, like, "Mike and Nick," and
yeah.
then we'd all just be like, "No!" Like,
Or we would be silent and
uh
hope he just like gets
I
distracted.
hope that Clarence would start some, like, 20-minute story, whatever. But it'd be
Yeah,
like
that's
we'd hear Uncle Harry, like, laugh or like start to speak up, like we could hear his voice, and we'd be like, "Huh?" Like, "Oh, phew."
yeah.
They don't have to leave yet. And maybe I'm romanticizing this, maybe not, but let's give me the benefit of the doubt here. I feel like once it was like Mike and Nick, and we'd all just be like, "Oh no, Sunday to an end." Like, this is the worst time because it's the furthest that we are away from next Sunday, and
Right.
then like we like trudge upstairs, just like, "Oh, okay." And then he's just like it was a bait and switch. Like, "Do you guys want to stay the night?" And then just be like,
Yeah,
um,
it's hard to tell if that was like done because we were putting on such a like a sad,
yeah,
sad
yeah,
air about it, or if
yeah,
it was just, happened that way. But yeah, we'll
yeah.
pretend it was done because we were so devastated.
Yeah, exactly, and especially, like, if they'd come over Sunday and it really started coming down, growing up East Coast Canada, like, if there was a snowstorm starting, it was kind of like, "Yeah, don't go driving in that." So, it'd
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, well, just they're gonna stay the night and, kinda hang
Yeah.
out for tomorrow, go home tomorrow when the storm clears up." So or, if it
If it
was
was
a
like a holiday or
3-day weekend, yeah,
something.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But, anyway, it
That would
was
always
just
be the
like
best feeling.
the best times kind of hanging out with them, and, that was always really fun.
Yeah. So the reason I bring up like the overnight, random occurrences is because um that hockey game I remember was one of those times that they stayed overnight, and I don't know if maybe it was just me and Mike then that were playing it because I that was
Yeah,
PlayStation, so it was only two players.
okay.
But like I played that all night, and to the point that like my hands were destroyed the next day because it was a
Oh,
PS1
man.
controller, like, and I don't even think it was the analog one. It was like the
Yeah,
old school PS1,
yeah.
and it was just like I feel like it was like not boost but like sprint kind of button.
Sure.
I feel like was one of the like the shoulder buttons, and you're
Yeah.
just like it was just like a constant like three or four button like rotation, like boost pass shoot, or
Yeah.
like just something like that, back and forth. And I just remember my hands were like
Destroyed.
claws the next day. Like that, it was brutal because I played that game all night. One of those nights.
Oh, man,
So
yeah, I
it
think
must have
that
been
must have been
Mike.
after, maybe I was at university and you guys and these were Sunday things. Anyways, I'm not sure, but yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember. I don't remember that, but I
And
can
like I
totally
said,
see
I
that.
even if I would try to like look up which specific game it was not distinct visually. Like any hockey game would have looked like this, so
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
determine which one it was. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why that one. Why I even played it. I don't like those games
Yeah, I
usually.
know exactly.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
it
kind of
just
funny that it came into the lineup.
yeah, yeah, and I think maybe it was just maybe like the two-player mode was really good, and it was like actually like fun. It actually fun to play, or I don't know what it was, but I
Yeah.
played the crap out of that one when they would come
Oh,
visit
nice.
for at least one of those weekends.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other one that I know for sure was a little more me and Mike was Armored Core. We had
Oh
the
yeah.
like mech. You're fighting as mechs, and you do missions to like get money to buy parts for your mech, and it was like arm weapons, shoulder weapons, back weapons, and you all had like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
weight.
yeah.
Like it's like, and the funniest part about it is that, and I don't even know when I tried to remember how this worked. I It like boggles my mind that it worked this well on a PS1 game, but because it was definitely a game that they had, so maybe they lent it to us. No, I think I just did it when they were visiting. You could like, I guess that makes sense why this worked then. But I feel like we both had a copy of the game at one point because we would spend all week like I would be like playing my mech, and mine
Yeah.
was like maximum weight, as
Yeah.
many weapons as I could put, slow as hell, but I had so much HP and I had so many weapons to like choose
Yeah.
from. And Mike was the polar opposite. He had like a gun and like
Speed.
maybe like one like rocket thing on his shoulder, and then
Yeah.
that was it. And he was just super speedy, and a lot less health, but he could move a lot faster. And it was
Yeah.
one of those games where you had to play like all buttons you had to
Yeah.
use at the same time, like
Oh,
even
wow.
d-pad, and because I think the one we had didn't even have the sticks. I think it was the old, so it was just
Okay.
D-pad and buttons. But it was like, because it was like, I think like R2 and R1 were like camera up, camera down, and like these two were button or weapons, and it was just like you had to use every button on that controller.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why I'm like confused how it even worked was like I would spend all week like doing missions and getting the money for
Yeah.
clearing those to like buy new weapons and like bulking up my my mech, and then
Yeah.
he would do similar things, and then like when they'd come over Sunday we could like load my save data in or something and fight
Yeah,
each
yeah.
other because they had like
Hmm.
a split screen mode. um and I just remember like almost always for how polar opposites like our builds were, it would
Yeah.
come down to like double digit because you'd have like tens of thousands of HP, and it would
Yeah.
come down to like double digit, like I'd have
Left.
10 HP left and I killed him, or vice versa. And it was
Pretty
just
evenly matched.
crazy. Yeah, and for having like such different both play styles and mech builds. I feel like we did that for a long time. Like, and maybe I'm remembering it being longer than it was, but there was definitely like at least probably like a couple months of back and forth. Like, okay, he beat me this week. I gotta like get different weapons and retool my character or whatever. um
Unsurprisingly, you both had completely different builds. Like, that
yeah.
does not surprise me.
Yeah, we do that in a lot of things, in a lot of games, but um yeah, that was one that we still talk about that. And so the developer of those games, From Software, are the ones that moved on to do like all the Dark Souls games, and
Oh,
that has
okay,
been their
gotcha.
focus, rightfully so, for years and years now. And they just announced last year they're doing Armored Core again.
Oh, wow,
So
cool.
Mike and I are obviously excited about that. So um but anyway, yeah, that is like one of my definitely one of like the Sunday night memories I have very vividly. Was Armored Core. I think it was Master of the Arena was the specific game we were playing. If anyone knows that one,
Okay,
but yeah,
cool,
it was
awesome.
so much fun.
Um, what else do you have for Mike and Nick games? Sunday night games.
That's that's the main. That's like the ones I could think of
Oh,
when
okay.
I was
I've
writing
got
this out.
two. Okay, so Tekken and then the Golden Eye, Perfect Dark. But then I remember, I think it was like a ninja was it Tenchu? Is that
Oh
what it was called?
yes,
Yeah.
100% Tenchu. God damn it!
And
How did I not? I think I wrote that down like months ago when I was thinking of just ideas.
we may
Of
have like alluded to it in the first episode when we kind of did a
oh,
pretty big
when we talked about
spectrum.
PS1, we might have mentioned it there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how I
But
forgot it for this, but yeah,
yeah, and like I remember like it was a really unique game, and it wasn't just like shoot 'em up, beat 'em up style. Like it
yeah,
was total
it was
stealth.
very stealth centered or
And I remember
focused.
I never played it. I would just watch them play it like that. And that was that was a thing you and I did all the time growing up, where just like it's like, oh, I didn't play that, but I've watched my brother play
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
in the most normal sentence possible. And people are like, the hell are you talking about?
yeah,
It's like, yeah, you didn't just like watch your brother play a game for like 10 hours. It's like, no,
yeah.
what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah,
But yeah,
Tenchu. Oh god,
yeah.
so good.
And so that was and like that was right at the start of the PS, PlayStation 1 era for us, and as kind of a game we had never rented or anything before. So yeah, when they came over with that, it was like, oh yeah, can you guys just play Tenchu? And
Yeah,
we'll just like watch and eat chips, and yeah, just kind
because
of
you could
like
get
watch it
like
happen.
the stealth kills or whatever. Like you had to.
Hmm.
It wasn't just that your attack would hit them harder. It's like you'd get. I feel like you'd get special like kill animations if you like stealthed up
Yeah,
behind them and stuff.
and it was very satisfying.
Yeah.
Like yeah, very, yeah, very satisfying. So yeah, remember playing Tenchu, or
You
watching them
should.
play
And
Tenchu.
I know I've probably mentioned this to you just outside of the podcast before. Sekiro is this game
Yes.
that is recent, and that is actually just ironically that is actually from software that did that game, and a lot
Ah.
of people compared it as like a spiritual sort of successor almost to Tenchu.
I'm pretty sure I
Um,
have it downloaded from when you told me that. So,
oh, okay,
yeah,
cool,
yeah,
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 and it's
yeah.
got the grappling hook and stuff
Oh,
too, and
you
yeah,
told me there's a specific version that's good.
that might be
Um,
a different game. I think
oh,
there's
okay.
only one, unless I told you like to get it on PS4 or something
Yeah,
rather
okay.
than something else. But anyways,
Anyways, I have, yeah, it sounds really familiar. I'm pretty sure I downloaded it. So,
yeah,
yeah,
I for
cool.
sure have told you about it. But yeah, it definitely has like major like Tenchu sort of
Yeah.
vibes to it.
So yeah, Tenchu. And then I'm surprised you forgot this one. They're the ones who introduced us to Grand Theft Auto.
Oh my
Because
god, of course, yes,
like or OG
yeah,
Grand
top
Theft Auto.
down,
Yep.
yeah,
And
like
I
Grand
think
Theft Auto
also
One.
GTA 2. Um, but still GTA, and just being like, I remember them being like, this is the best game ever. And then loading it up, top down, like, stupid looking like NES graphics. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is the best game ever, like with the crap. And then reading the text of the missions and stuff, and then you're like, oh yeah, this game rocks.
And then just like I'm pretty sure those early games had like the wanted system when
Oh
like
yeah,
cops
yeah.
would that started like in the Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And yeah,
That's what
that's
made the
when it
game
just
great.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that's when it sort of devolved into like not doing missions, just cause as much havoc and try to stay alive as
I
long
mean,
as you can.
my move in any Grand Theft Auto game is like mission, side quest. I'm bored of this. It's like I'm gonna like try to escape the cops for as long, try to get as many
Yeah.
stars as humanly possible. Like that's a classic procrastination move in any
Yeah.
of those games. But
And you can lose hours in like the blink of an eye and that
yeah,
in those games doing that stuff
yeah.
because it just
But
gets
I remember the
annoying.
controls being really tricky in GTA 1
Yeah.
because it was left. I mean, with the car, fine. It made sense.
Yeah, it was
It
like
was,
tank controls, right? It was like if
yeah,
you like left would rotate your guy left no
yeah,
matter which
yeah,
way he was
yep.
facing or whatever.
Clockwise, counterclockwise kind of thing.
Yeah.
And with the car, it was like, okay, yeah, left would do this, right would do that. X to accelerate, but like with the human, it was the same controls. So
Just
it'd be like,
running in these
all
really
right, we
like
go this
weird
way, yeah.
patterns. Yeah.
And it'd just be like, oh, wait, nope, I want to go this way.
Yeah.
So anyway, but still, awesome game.
Yeah, totally
A-
forgot that was them.
yeah, and so no, it was from Sunday night visits from Mike and Nick that kind of started us on GTA. So yeah,
True.
those uh that was fun because it'd be um one of us playing, escape, trying to escape the cops and like whatever, and then all of us like on near misses, all of us just like losing our minds,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just that kind of stuff was built for the four of us kind of all being together. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was fun.
even if it would be like a one player experience, like
Yeah,
that
it,
we
it
were
was
the perfect audience for that type of game to just react to, all the crazy stuff that whoever was playing was doing.
yeah, even if like I wasn't playing, I felt in the experience,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
No, that
man.
so
Yeah, totally, definitely. And to be fair, when I think of Grand Theft Auto, I often forget about those games because
yeah,
like obviously 3 is when it became like a global phenomenon.
yeah,
So yeah, that definitely slipped my mind for sure, but that is 100% a game uh that they brought, introduced us to for sure. That's
yeah,
definitely good.
yeah,
That's a good pull. And I
yeah,
know as soon as we start recording, I'll remember like 10 others.
yeah.
But yeah, those are the ones that I could think of uh that came front of mind when I started kind of writing stuff down for this episode.
The other like little sidebar that is like, this is a video game podcast, but this I feel like is still a hilarious story, and so at least peripherally related is, I remember you had these like Power Ranger like
Power bomb.
yeah, yeah, like these they weren't action figures, they were
I know where
like
this is going.
uh
Uh
stuffed like
hold,
figures. Do
one
you
sec.
still have some? Like, well, they're like a foot tall, kind of stuffed um figures. Do you have them or
I got this one.
yeah, okay, yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, kind of articulated legs or what, arms and legs, whatever. But so between the four of us, I think it was probably like you and Mike for the most part, but you had like eight of them. And just between
I think I had every one except maybe the yellow one. I don't think I had the yellow one, but I had all the
yeah,
others. And I'm gonna just say this because I'll forget. For
yeah.
whatever reason, the red one always looked so stupid. Its head was deformed. Like instead of like a circle, it was kind of like squished and like just the
Yeah.
way it was like sewed together. So we always thought that was like the derpy one
Yeah,
because
no, totally.
it just
And it was
looks
something
so.
like just because these things were fabric, right? So they're obviously on a sewing machine, and just I don't know, it was pulled back in a weird way. And just like all of them looked great, and then the red one just like
Yeah,
Mike
it's
was
not
the,
even
Mike
that
was
that's not even that it looked like offensive or anything. It looked a different shape than all of them. So
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
like, what happened to you? Like,
yeah.
what's wrong with you? Why are you not like the rest of them?
And anyway, Mike always did like the best voice for him too. And so I feel like that's a great point, because I feel like that's where this started, of like we'd be at grandma's and it'd be like, watch this one walk down the stairs, and would like walk down normally, and then the red one would be like doo doo doo
It's
and
blah
just
blah
like
blah.
tumble, which then ultimately turned into just like throwing them down the stairs, and just like grandma being like, what is going on down there? It's like I remember us being like, "Look, they're plush stuffed things, like
They're not
nothing
hurting
wrong."
anybody. Yeah.
And then there's like, "Okay," and we do that for hours, hours. Like, "Oh, my turn. Watch me do this in the exact same way that we've been doing for 2 hours." Oh, hilarious!
So the
But
the thing I was quoting was there was one time we were in the basement on one of those Sunday visits, and I think it was just a bowl of popcorn we had,
yeah,
and I I think it was me. It might have been Nick, but I think it was me. Where we
yeah,
just took because we were also into wrestling,
Yeah.
when we were kids. And it's just like power bomb, and I like did a power bomb to one of the Power Rangers, and I just
Yeah.
hit the popcorn, and it just and just popcorn everywhere. And it wasn't like we weren't talking about wrestling or doing anything that required this moment to be highlighted. It was like watching a cutscene or something. It was, power bomb. Boom. That's just
Oh,
how
man.
dumb we were when we all got together.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was just, Tinder, and then just the slightest spark, it'd just be out of control.
Yeah.
But anyway, that would usually video games devolving into throwing those Power Rangers around and wrestling them, and I remember, like, at one point, like, not foam, but, like, the wool or
Stuffing
whatever,
or whatever.
the stuffing would just, like, start leaking out, probably the Red Ranger, 'cause, that we'd beat him up the most. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was kind of part of this Sunday night experience.
Yeah. And it was when I moved here and Mike moved all his stuff. He had them for some reason.
Wow,
And so he
amazing.
was going through just his cuz I think in their like the last couple places they lived were small. So they didn't have room to like
Maybe
put everything
downsize a
they
little bit.
own out on
Yeah.
display or something. And he was going through stuff and he just came down. He's like, "Do you want this?" I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
yes I do. Give me that
Amazing.
thing." So funny.
Yeah. Uh,
But anyway, yeah, that like you said, it's not wasn't always video game related, but it would all be happening around the TV while we're playing something.
yeah.
It would
Um,
devolve into this, all this weirdness.
and, like, to rewind the clock a little bit, I think it kind of like, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, I feel like pre-Sunday night visits by them, like, when we would go to Hillsborough and hang out with them for March break or something like that.
Yeah.
Games that I really remember, like NES era would
The
be.
Kung Fu one. Do you remember
Oh
that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
that's
Go
on the
ahead.
Switch. That's just on the Switch Online collection. So anytime I just see it, I just think of playing it at their house because that was one they
Oh,
had.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The series that, like, for me is any, like, Double Dragon 2 and 3 was, they had
Yes.
those, which are
Yep.
classic
Yep. Yep.
Mike
Yep.
and Nick games, and then Contra. Or Contra, like, I think Contra
Oh.
2 for sure.
Okay. I remember playing Contra, but I didn't realize that was like one of their games that we would play with them.
But we had it, but playing it, like, they were really good at it, and
So
anyway, yeah.
we would have we because that was co-op. You could play that two players.
And
Um,
because, man, the basement at their house on that TV, that thing was like a cathode ray tube,
yeah.
500 pound something or other. And, like, it was in their basement, slightly unfinished, so, like, oh, dark as hell.
Yeah.
I just that was like a cave, and playing games with them, and
Yeah.
I feel like Harry, he had like this flight simulator on his computer as well, so it
Hmm.
was kind of like this whole setup. But
They
anyway,
for
playing games
sure
with them.
they for sure had Doom on their
Yeah,
PC, and
yeah,
it was like MS DOS. Like you had to write the command to launch the game or whatever. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember them having like a piece of paper there, so like I could do it because there's no way I'd remember to how to do that.
yeah,
Or but definitely remember playing the original Doom on their computer
yeah.
at their house down in that basement too.
Oh, because that was amazing. Like, just kind of going to hang, like, for them with like a week or whatever, March
Yeah.
break, and then, I'm sure mom was just like, "What, your problem now?"
Yeah.
So, like, and I'm sure they, like, rotated. 1 year would be at
Sure.
our place, 1 year
Yeah,
at,
because I
over
definitely
there.
have memories of like going just because the town they live in was very small, so you could like walk anywhere that
Yeah,
what corner store for candy or rent a
yeah,
movie or whatever. So I
yeah,
remember staying there a couple days where we would like just be walking all over the
yeah.
town or whatever like during the day. Like I have a lot of memories of that too. Yeah.
Here's $2, go get some candy and
Yeah.
an ice cream,
Yeah.
whatever, like,
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. No, those
Uh,
are good memories for sure.
yeah. That basement was. Yeah. That's a and it's like I can't even put the words on it, but it was just like the perfect like little, like you said, like cave, like hideout
Yeah.
for us to just hang out down there. And because we didn't go to their house that often, like it
No.
was more often I feel like that they would come over here.
Yeah.
It was just more of like not like elusive, but like just unfamiliar, and it was just yeah, it was a lot of fun when we would get to stay
And I
over
remember
there.
like it was always a little bit cold down there, and so it
Yep,
was like, oh, like get a blanket and play some games. Like, yeah,
yep.
it was awesome. That was so much fun.
Um, yeah, the Contra, that's a good call. And that made me think of the Kung Fu game. And I'm pretty sure that game is just called Kung Fu.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like it's not hard to look it up. And they just because they had these really weird, like very like round like character models. Like they just looked kind of goofy, but
Yeah.
yeah, that game was super fun. And that one I have played like recently because that's on like I said, it's on the NES collection of the Switch Online stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as soon as I saw the box art for it, I was like, "Oh, that's the game at Mike and Nick's."
Yeah,
Like
yeah, no, exactly,
immediately.
exactly. And so I think it's Kung Fu Heroes maybe, but
Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah,
knew it had Kung Fu in the title. Yeah, Kung Fu Hero
yeah.
sounds right. Yeah, that one was so good. Um, do you remember Codename Viper?
Yes.
I don't.
Oh
I
man.
did we have that? I don't know if that was a Mike and Nick game or if we just had that and maybe we played it with them or something. But I don't. That
Uh,
name just popped into my head while we were talking about these games.
Man, that game was awesome.
I feel
And
like it was very like Metal Gear esque,
yeah,
like
yeah,
old
yeah.
school like 2D Metal Gear, and I feel like the music is good, but I would definitely have to look it up, and I will
Yeah, yeah.
to see if that memory is true. I just
'Cause
remember you had to
oh,
like flip in these like the doors or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a good game. Sorry, when you first said it, I was thinking of it's like Bionic Commando
Mhm.
maybe, where like you had like the grappling hooks
Yeah,
thing or
you
whatever.
couldn't jump. It was just the swing.
Yeah, yeah, I know. 'Cause that is a good game. Yeah, Codename Viper. Man, I bet you
Definitely had similar looks.
uh, if I heard one note from that soundtrack, I'd instantly be able to
Remember
hear
it.
the rest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, going in like the doors, finding ammo and
I think it like rescue people that would
yeah,
be
sometimes
in
there were
there
like
or something.
people there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't know if we ever beat it, but
You'd get hit and you'd bounce back like like
sure.
6 feet. Yeah.
I'm totally gonna
Uh,
look it. I'm gonna look up a video after just to like see if it's what I'm remembering. But yeah.
I can remember the sound it would make when you got hit. It was
Okay. I don't remember that. That's funny how
uh,
that just bleeds into your brain.
yeah, totally. No, yeah, no, that was a good game. But yeah, oh man, Kung Fu Heroes. I just kind of looked it up. Totally.
You remember
That
that
that's a
one from their place.
that's a
They look so stupid. They look like
oh
babies.
yeah, and like
Just like giant babies
you'd
fighting.
be facing the screen punching, and it's like
Yeah, that's right.
oh man, that's like Snow Brothers level
Sure. That's a good
looking kind of thing.
comparison. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Cool. Okay,
awesome.
so we'll take another break, and then so the next thing we're going to talk about is uh, the your home visits after you went off to like college or university and all that stuff. And like I said, I would have a list of homework for you to do, and I have some fun memories specifically about those
Yeah,
that we'll talk about. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come right back to talk about that.
beauty. Okay, see you soon.
Everyone, welcome back. So the next thing we wanted to talk about, first of all, we looked up Codename Viper on our break, and the music is as good as I remember, and the
That
sound effects are
better
awesome.
better than I remembered.
Yeah,
So yeah,
so
yeah,
everyone go look that up. That cave is awesome.
yeah,
Um, okay, so yeah, the premise for this whole kind of story is just that I kind of mentioned already, but like as Matt, as you went on to do, further schooling beyond even undergrad or whatever, you just had a lot less time to consume games, throughout the year. And I still lived at our house with our parents for a while, until I figured out what I want, where I wanted to go, and where I wanted to live. But the advantage of that is that when you would get your breaks from school or whatever, I feel like it was at least like at least 3 weeks usually, if not maybe a
Mhm.
little more, because it was like
Yep.
university timeline is a little. I feel like you get a little longer breaks than like high school did, because high school was literally just 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
So
think but from Mount A, I feel like I had, like, almost like a month even, but
right.
it was more yeah, more like 3 or 4 weeks, something like that.
Probably depended like when your exams ended, because sometimes that
Mm.
can stretch like
Mhm.
an extra week longer than someone else. But
Yeah.
either way, it was at least for like 3 weeks that you'd be home. And my gaming habit never really stopped because I was just working. So as soon as my shift was over, like that's what I did. That's what that's where I passed my time. And so it would always be like this sort of tradition that when you would get home, I would literally like, and I would think about this through the year. Like, it's not like I would
Yeah.
like cram, last minute. It was like, oh, he's home soon. Like, it's like I would like make a note of a game that I
Mhm.
played in the year. Like, oh, Matt's got to play this one or whatever. And so you'd get home, and it would be like, all right, like literally, like here's your homework. Get through as much of this in the next 3 weeks. You know, family visits, whatever. I don't care. Get through these games. So anyway, so it was I have a couple that I want to mention just because they're like very vivid memories of both me really wanting you to play them, or a combination of that with your experience with them, how entertaining it was for me, because we would do the reverse of what you were saying earlier, is you would play these, and when I'd be home from work, I think most times you would play them in my room, because I had the systems just hooked up in there for
Yep.
myself. And I can just remember you like laying on my bed playing these games, and it's like the way it worked was like my desk with my computer was here, and my TV was like, it was one of those sort of like two-tier desks sort of thing, and my TV was up top
Yep.
with the games hooked up to it or whatever. And so you'd be on the bed playing, and I'd be able to just kind of like watch you play along or whatever. um so one of the first ones I remember, and this was maybe just earlier on, which is why it sticks out in my memory. But do you remember me getting you to play like Mario Galaxy over a winter break?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So the
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, that's, like, number 1. Yeah.
okay. And the fun thing about that one was like, you could just use a second controller to like interfere with enemies, or like get the little star bits floating around or whatever. So like you would be playing, and I would just be like pull out a controller and be like,
Yeah.
well, stop, like make that guy stop, and jump on that guy or whatever. And yeah, I mean Mario Galaxy was just a
Yeah.
phenomenal Mario game by itself. And so yeah, that was, I remember one of the ones that I was like, I feel like it came out in like probably like March or April or something that year. Like it came out very early, like way earlier than like the holidays. And I remember that was one that I like
Yeah.
wrote down. I'm like, okay, when we get, it's like this is on the list when he comes home to play through this one.
Yeah. No, and that was totally it because, like, you would, like, I would be playing it, and you would use, yeah, the second controller, which would just, like, get the star bits, just with
Yeah,
because it would just with
just the
the
pointer or
yeah,
the motion.
but,
Yeah, yeah,
like, you'd be like, "Look, I gotta go to bed, and, like, I gotta, like, work tomorrow. You play as long as you want." So you'd be,
yeah.
like, in bed, just,
Yeah.
and then I'd be like, "Garrett, come on." "Oh, shit, he's asleep." So
Yeah.
but
That
I just gotta keep playing.
That's true. Actually, I forgot it would be that way sometimes, because I would still be working, and then I worked in retail at the time, so Christmas was
Yeah,
always like stressful as hell. And like I do that a lot now, where I go to bed and I'll put a let's play on of something just because I
yeah,
like watching it until I fall asleep or whatever.
yeah.
And yeah, that is definitely like a version of that where I've like, and I remember when you say that, I remember you like, oh, like I can go, like no, no, I can sleep through anything. Like just keep
Yeah.
playing, and I will fall asleep if I'm watching this.
It's
Um,
and it's so, like, I don't know, like, ingrained in my mind that, like, after a while, maybe the first Christmas back, like, as you said, like, "Look, I can go," and then you're like, "No, no, no," and then after that, I'd be like, "Yeah, so can I, like, play this game in your room until, like, 4 AM, even though you have to work, like, a 14-hour shift tomorrow?" And
Yeah.
then you'd be like, "Yeah, man, like, of course. Why are you even asking?"
I'll
Like,
fall asleep.
it was like, any other family or any other person, like, that would be a huge ask. They'd be like, "No, get the F out of my room. I gotta
You got
work
a lot
tomorrow."
of you got a lot of games to get through here. You better be playing till 4 in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, yeah, it was actually the opposite. It's like, "Well, you better you're not going to bed. You got some stuff to get caught up on here." Um, and it's kinda funny. Sorry, quick sidebar. Have we talked about this? And maybe this is a tease for a future episode, but, do you remember, um, these, like, audio tapes, like, books on tape or what, comics on tape or something like that? We had, like, Mario Brothers, um, it was like a comic book, and we had, like, a cassette tape that accompanied it, that was just essentially the voices, and it was, like, some Mario Brothers thing, um, and we would listen to those. I'm surprised those tapes didn't turn into dust, like,
I
it
do
was
remember that.
and so, like, it got to a point where it was like, "Ah, okay, Garrett, put it on your boombox, whatever, in your room." Like, "Matthew and Garrett, time to go to bed." "Okay, we'll put this on and listen to it," and it's just, like, the same thing we've listened to 10,000 times, and it'd be, "Oh, Koopa's done this, and then the princess whatever, and,
Oh man, I gotta make a note to look those up because
uh"
I remember it being a thing. I don't know if I'm getting it mixed up with the cartoon that was briefly on.
No, no, and it wasn't that, it was this, like,
And like that's what I'm saying is like I remember that what you're talking about is a thing, but when I'm
mm.
trying to picture it, I feel like I'm picturing that cartoon, so I know it's not that.
Give it some more
Um,
thought because you will remember it. I tried, like, I scoured the entire internet one year to try and get it for you for Christmas.
oh my god.
And I remember being, like, disappointed in my failure that I couldn't find it because I was just like, Garrett will lose his mind.
I
And
know
like
if I see it, I will immediately it'll come flowing back for sure.
so anyways, we'll deep dive on that some other time. But
Yeah.
like just the fact that it was just like games have been part of our lives, even like
Going to sleep.
going to sleep.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh yeah, all right. I'm gonna play this game until the wee hours of the morning because I'm home between semesters. So like whatever, I don't have to. And that'll yeah between semesters, not just like a Christmas high school break where you might need to study a bit. Like no, I'm in between courses, so
Right.
I
Yeah,
literally have nothing to
you
do.
had nothing else to work on, yeah.
So it's just like, okay, I'm gonna play this in your room, like not with a headset on,
No, no.
like just
I need the music and sound effects to go to sleep.
yeah. And it was funny too because that TV was not big.
Good.
Like I was like a 13-inch TV,
Yeah. With like a
and
shitty like one speaker.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but
It wasn't good audio, but it didn't bother me.
no, no, and so just playing that, you playing until you fell asleep, and then I'd kind of get out of your room at 3 a.m., whatever, go to
Yeah.
bed myself. But no,
Well,
and I was
because
like, I
at that point
yeah.
I was like, I had like my own PC, like gaming PC at that point because I
Mhm,
was
mhm.
working, so I could afford like a gaming, computer of some kind. So it's like I had games to play anyway, like, and I could literally do that here and just watch what you're doing right here.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was like it's not like it was putting me out. I was like, no, no, I got PC games I can play while you're doing this.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely and my room was small. It was
Yeah.
like for people I may we may be making this sound like this big luxurious master bedroom. It was like probably like 12 feet by like 15 feet or so.
Yeah, no,
It
it was
was a
not big.
very small room.
And, like, your desk was pretty big desk,
It was a
so,
corner
like
desk, so it
a
was like a good percentage of the room space.
and then your dresser was right there, and it was kind of like going in, you kinda had to, like, shimmy between your bed and the dresser, like, it
Yeah.
was a tight fit,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like you would think it would have been more intrusive, but I really wanted you to play these, and I wanted to like see. It's like if what evolved into like my enjoyment of like Twitch and Let's Plays on YouTube is just I want to see how you react to this game after I've gone through it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, it was as much
So
fun for me as it was for you.
that's a good point because I feel like Mario Galaxy or Mario Galaxy 2 or both of them were some of the first games
I think
that
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the Wii was like that's when I was full on in like in university or grad school, whatever. And so like
Yeah.
I never had any of those systems. So it was literally like I haven't played any games on these at all. So
And the timeline for that makes sense because the Wii came out when I was at my uh, first year at community college,
yeah,
and I would have. I guess I just had more time to play games because I was home. It's like I
yeah,
had my own
yeah,
home set up because I was just living at mom Clarence's house while I was at
yeah,
college, versus being on campus at university for 2 years or whatever.
yeah,
Um, so it was more of a thing where I had time to play games and I had my whole setup because like when we both come home for Christmas, it's not
yeah,
like I had all my game systems there for you to
yeah,
play. I had
yeah,
everything
yeah.
already when I was in. So that makes sense that it would have been around that time that I would have started getting you to do that because I had the setup ready basically for when you would get home.
Yeah. And Mario Galaxy, just like a perfect game.
Oh yeah, I love that game.
The like enjoyment of like launching from one whatever. So, anyways, that game was just like that was built for the experience that we're talking about here. Like it's Christmas, we're hanging out, we're
Yeah,
just playing games.
you can't not be smiling while you're playing that game.
Yeah, yeah,
As
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Uh,
no, yeah, Mario Galaxy with you playing,
the second,
sidecar.
because
Yeah,
yeah, you could like literally if there's like an enemy, you could like hold it in place. So it's
Oh
like
yeah, sorry,
this
I
one
forgot
guy
you
is like in your way. I'm like, just one sec, now go.
like tractor beam
and,
style kind of thing.
and
Yeah,
I would be like playing my game, or like, oh, I'll just like grab my remote. Yeah, do it now. Okay,
yeah,
and go back to my game. I
yeah,
just remember doing stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, so another one that evolved into borderline obsession for you. I'm
Mm.
pretty sure we did this on one of these visits. Was the Arkham games?
Oh yeah, totally,
Because
totally.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I had I would have been the first one, Arkham Asylum,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I got you to play that because I distinctly the reason why I think it was one of the Christmas games is I distinctly remember watching you play those and laughing hysterically at the like insane like AI dialogue and reactions to things. So, for
Oh,
example, you could like when you like beat someone up and you have to like interrogate them and like, "Oh, I can't remember example one thing you said, but it's like, "Oh, oh, he's in this building, but you'll never get him." Just like punches lights out and it would
oh,
just like no matter what like they said, it was just like, thanks for your info. Goo!
yeah.
And it would slow motion right as you knock him out. I
So
don't,
like
that just makes me laugh every time I think about it.
this is there's a slight fact check here. That wasn't actually a Christmas one. That was when I was home between I got home from Japan and then I was going to be going to work in Lethbridge.
I
Um
remember, I remember there was a point where you were in my at my apartment,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
watched you play a lot, but I couldn't remember if we started with Arkham Asylum
Oh, sorry, and you may be
earlier.
right. You may be
But
right. Yeah.
either way, it kind of fits that same because it was like, you know, your brief visit home, it kind of fills that space anyway. But yeah,
Exactly. It's the same concept of I'm home for a couple of weeks between semesters, between jobs, between whatever.
yeah,
You'd have this is one of my favorite words recently is like you had a carefully curated list of games that you wanted
yeah,
me to play.
yeah.
Um, and then that was same deal. You were like
I
on
was
when it
on my
was
computer or
on your
whatever.
computer playing a game, and it's like, look, play Arkham for 10 hours and I'll just kind of low key watch you. Okay, cool. Sounds like a great day.
Yeah.
But
It,
yeah, just like
it was the interrogation like things like where he,
the Riddler's
punched the
guys or
crap out
whatever.
of him or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it
And
was just like this the classic like stealth mission henchman AI like or henchman dialogue where
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
literally two people talking to each other. One guy turns around and you go down, grab him, like, oh, where'd he go? Like, and it's like you're like 5 feet above him. Like, it's like, how did you not hear? Just that. Like, that is
yeah,
such a funny thing for like a backseat experience. Is like just all that silly like bad AI stuff.
yeah,
It's just so funny, and I just remember us laughing so much at those games for
yeah.
moments like like that.
Well, for me, there's kind of two moments that just like made either Asylum or City. Um, One was exactly as you're kind of describing, where it'd be like smoke bomb or whatever. Then you go down, and it's like, where are you? You'll never defeat, and then just like immediate, like from behind one punch kill. It's like I'm gonna kill you, like you're never gonna boom. He's
Boo!
but the other one was like with the oh, you have to kill every or knock out everyone, and then leave the green guy to last so that you can interrogate him.
Yes.
And then just like he's talking and I would skip the dialogue
Oh
at the
yeah,
most perfect time
yeah. That's
because
what it was.
it'd be like tell me where the Riddler's whatever is, and it's
Oh,
like
he's at the
okay,
boom.
he's at the boom. Just skip the dialogue and smashes it in. It's like Batman, you're not a very good you're not a very good detective.
You got like Jack Bauer levels of patience,
Yeah, yeah.
or lack thereof, rather.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That because I for sure remember more of that happening at my apartment. So maybe that was
Yeah,
where it started. But like I said, it fits the same kind of um, the same vibe as these Christmas playlists. And
yeah.
we will talk about Arkham more because I know that was a game you got super into.
Oh yeah,
So we're
definitely.
gonna do an episode probably on like that and Spider Man because I think those would be two fun games to talk about that we both
Awesome.
played extensively. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk more about that game later because yeah, that was such a fun game to just to be at on in the on the passenger seat watching.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, especially skipping through dialogue or like, a anyway, yeah, we'll talk
Yeah,
more about
we
that, yeah.
will. Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, so we did talk briefly about how I think it was one of those Christmas visits that I got you to play Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, and
Because you just that's when you were coming back from Japan.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because you had said you'd seen a lot of it.
yeah,
So like you
in
knew what it
Tokyo.
was, but you haven't touched it yet.
It was like, I know that's Final Fantasy, but, I've the last Final Fantasy I played was 8/9, and it's
Right.
like this I've been out of the game, so to speak, for a while, and that turned out to be 13, and yeah, you got me that's what roped me back into
Right.
gaming again. Like,
Yeah.
that was, for
Especially
me, it's
Final Fantasy gaming again. Yeah.
yeah, because like for me, my gaming lore is uh Atari NES into PS1 and then PS3 with Lightning and Final Fantasy 13. And there's kind of a gap there when I
Right.
was going to school. Yeah.
And it's funny how it worked because I think this is when you were back from Japan to go, which would actually make sense if that's when I got you to try 13. Um, because like so when our parents at their house had set up like they
Mhm.
expanded and they set up a big TV room or whatever, and they got me to help because I was working in that kind of space.
Yeah.
Just me to help pick out all the equipment, sound system and TV and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they wanted a Blu-ray player and they wanted Netflix.
Yeah.
And at the time,
This is crazy actually. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Blu-ray players that came with those were like very expensive and their Netflix apps were garbage. Like they were so bad. And I knew this from having like set them up for customers in their houses
Yeah.
and being frustrated at how bad they are. Um and so it was like $20 more than what these Blu-rays costed at the time to just get a PS3
Yeah.
because I had one and the Netflix app on it at the time worked amazing. Like it was
Yeah.
super fast and it just ran way better. And it's like a better Blu-ray player than most of these anyway.
Yeah.
And so it was like $20 more. So I just told I told mom like we're just getting this because like this that menu and stuff going slow will equal phone calls to me about how it's not working and then me
Yeah.
trying to convince you that it is working, it's just bad.
Yeah.
So it's like we're just getting a PS3. And then I feel like that was like probably like a year, maybe even year and a half before you had come back from Japan,
Yeah.
because it was like by the time you were home that year, the Blu-ray, like smart Blu-ray players, were much less expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just like I think I got her one for Christmas so that we could just give you the PS3, so that you could just start playing some of these games like Final Fantasy 13 and some other games I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how we like got you that PS3 and why your username is still basically mom's username.
Yeah, no, I was hoping you'd bring that up because yeah, that's exactly what happened. Your memory is right here. Uh, I was like, I'm gonna buy a PS3, and you're like, don't bother. Look, take Mom and Clarence's. We'll just get them. Like the Blu-ray players are much better now, so just swap it out. They won't care, and then there's your
They
PS3.
won't even
Boom.
know because I had
Yeah,
a remote that did everything for them anyway. It's
yeah,
like
no,
they
exactly.
wouldn't even realize it's different if I didn't tell them.
Yeah. So no, and then I took that with me to Alberta, kind of for my next job, and it was like, okay, I got a PS3 now. I'm back in the game.
Yeah.
And I remember you were like, oh, because I was like, oh, this is like rando mom
Like username
username.
letters and yeah,
Can
yeah.
I change this? And you're like, you can, but all the trophies that you've got, and so the backstory here as well is that I had started playing Final Fantasy 13 on their PS3
Right.
during that transition time, and had gotten a bunch of trophies and played a bunch of other games that I've got a list of here as well. And then you're like, you can, but you'll lose all of the trophies that you have. And then I was like, yes, this is my username.
Yeah.
And it still is.
Right. And like I know they made that better later because it
Mhm.
would have involved you making a new account essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they made it better later, but I think there's still a chance that you could like lose some of your old saves, or there's some weird thing where you're just like, whatever. It's like, just
I
use this
remember
stupid username. Like, who
when I was like
cares?
when I was playing around in the PS5 settings, I saw something. I was like, oh man, it looks like I could actually change this. And then I was like, but it's like it's such a good memory now. Like
Yeah.
I don't care what my name is. Like
Right. Yeah.
so
Doesn't
yeah.
matter.
But yeah. But yeah, I remember that was just like, man, all right, I have a PS5 or PS3 now. Because I played a couple of chapters of Final Fantasy 13, and it was just like, okay, well, gateway drug successful. Like
Yeah.
there's no way I
Exactly.
can leave without this now. So
There's
yeah.
a very easy bait.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was um yeah, kind of that was a summer before after I between me getting back from Japan and going out there, but there
Right.
were several other games that I'd played on that PlayStation
Yeah.
from
So
Christmases before.
one
Yeah.
of my favorite pairs of games,
Mm.
because of it's a funny memory because I thought it was going to be such a reverse of what actually happened.
Hmm.
So I think I'm pretty sure The Last of Us and the Tomb Raider reboot came out. I think they
Oh,
came out in the same year, or I at least had them for you in one year, like for
yeah,
one visit home. Um, and I love both of those games.
yeah,
The Last of Us was more critically acclaimed and more impressive, as like a technical showpiece and better story and stuff. Tomb
yeah,
Raider was just, that was a fun romp. But
yeah,
it's like whatever. I don't care what this story is. I just enjoy exploring this world, and
yeah,
it had very like Metroidvania elements to it, which made it really fun.
yeah,
Um, And so I was like, okay. I was like, when you came, I was like, okay, like there was probably other games amongst them, but I was like, these two you for sure have to play. Just
Yeah.
burn through Tomb Raider as fast as you can, and then
Yeah.
get to The Last of Us because I want to
Yeah.
see you. I really want to see you play that one, but like Tomb Raider's worth playing too. So like, just like rush through it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like such an opposite where you're just like you loved Tomb Raider, and
Yeah.
I feel like me watching you play it, it's like I liked it. I really liked that game, but I think
Mhm.
I just liked it in a different way. And I was like, okay, this is actually like way more fun to watch you play than probably Last of Us will be, because Last of
Yeah.
Us is very serious and very intense.
Yeah.
And it's similar things with like the silly henchman dialogue when you're like creeping around and like getting like stealth kills or bow and arrow kills or whatever.
That's exactly because like in any game, I love a good bow and arrow, stealth, sniper rifle, whatever. I love to like, oh, long range bow, whatever, like Horizon or whatever. Like, yeah, sweet. I want to be sniping from a cliff,
Yeah.
whatever. And it'd be like have them in my sights, and it'd be like, where's this Lara girl? She's never gonna shoot. And then I like bow and
Yeah, they're
arrow to
all
the
like
head.
trash talking you amongst themselves.
Oh, I get so much joy out of that, and, like, the the animations on certain, like, not just quick time event things, but,
It's the
like,
death
what
animations.
oh,
Yeah, they're
man,
so brutal.
and, like, out of nowhere, like, you'd be like, "Oh, oh, what's over here?" And you'd fall down a waterfall and, like, onto a
Like
impale
impale
yourself.
through her chin. Like it's
And just like,
brutal.
"Whoa!" Like, out of nowhere, and I think I had pretty good reactions for that, and so
Yeah.
you enjoy that quite a
And I
bit.
would know it's coming, like, because
Mm,
the game was still pretty fresh in my head.
mhm.
So I would know, I was like, oh, if he fails this part, he's gonna get brutally murdered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Conan did a Clueless Gamer for that game,
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
his
right.
reaction to that happening is very funny. It's
Oh, yeah, no,
definitely
definitely. I love the Clueless Gamer segments for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it was this very similar thing where it was just like just appalled by what you were seeing, and like you feel bad for her. It was like and it would like reset you back to that like on rail section, like so it's like you don't
Yeah.
even get a moment to like
Like, "Oh
get
god,
over
I'm
what
doing this
just
again?"
happened.
You're crying. Oh god, Jesus Christ. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so I just remember like thinking you were gonna burn through that game and then get to the last of us, which you did get through both of them. I remember,
Yeah,
you did get through both games, um, and I feel like I didn't get to watch as much of your Last of Us because I was definitely working a lot when you were going through that.
yeah,
But so because I don't have a lot of memories of watching you play that game as much, but Tomb Raider, I for sure got a lot of memories of just, and it's that that is like the silly henchman AI stuff is
yeah,
just
yeah,
perfect for like backseat gaming,
yeah. Oh, yeah,
because it's just
definitely.
so funny the way, and maybe it's like because I don't realize how ludicrous it is when I'm playing because I'm just more focused or something. I to a degree I still see it, but
Yeah.
when you're just purely watching as an observer, it just made me laugh so much.
Um
Like you said, when they're having their trash talk sessions and you're just like,
Yeah,
it's just
and
like,
they're like, "Yep,
huh?
this
Where'd
is."
he go?
Yeah. This is, like, I think I'm ready to release the arrow, and then they say whatever, it's like, "Yep, here we go."
Yeah.
And, like, if you get an extra good, like, through the neck or something, and they're really kind of, like,
like like a good
suffering,
like death gurgle like
yeah.
voiceover line or whatever. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, it's just, like, karmically beautiful, you know?
yeah.
Um, but, yeah, so, and Tomb Raider, like, that style of game is right in my wheelhouse,
Yeah,
like, find resources, upgrade your whatevers, like, find
yeah,
a bench, upgrade your what like, I love that,
yeah.
that game progression is great,
They came out. They released Metroid Prime One remastered like a
mm,
couple weeks ago, and I picked that up because I finished one of my previous games, and it's that when I say like the Tomb Raider is like the Metroidvania,
Yeah.
like it's like that's what was like. God damn, that first game is so good at just like getting the power ups and then like unlocking this new area to get another power up to unlock a new. Like it's such a simple concept, but my
No,
God,
it
that
works.
game
It
is so
totally
good,
works.
and it's the same sort of feeling as. And I recently went through. um I think there was like like 90 some percent off sale of like the Tomb Raider trilogy like a
Yeah.
year ago, and I picked
Yeah.
up all three of them on my computer, like on PC, um, and because I can just play them at like a higher resolution on my PC than my PS4 at the time, I guess. Oh,
Yeah.
whenever it came out, anyway. But I just wanted to play them on my. Oh, it's because I got a new monitor, and
Ah,
I wanted to like whenever I get a new graphics card or a new monitor, I just want to play a bunch of games I've played to see how much better they look. And that
yeah.
was literally it was like $8 for all three games. I was like, I like those games
Amazing.
anyway, so yeah, let me. And so I've recently gone through all three of them again, and yeah, they're so much fun.
Which is one or two that has like the Japan connection, like it's like an island of samurai ghosts or something, and it's like
I think that's
your
two. I'm pretty
that's
sure it's
two.
two.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Your partner is like a Japanese American or something, and they kind of tried her lineage traces back to whatever sort of ghost of the island or something. They try
I
to possess her or something like that.
As I
Uh,
mentioned, I barely pay attention to those stories of those games, but I remember those like enemy types.
yeah, yeah,
They're like big, like samurai armored, like
yeah,
zombie kind of things or
yeah.
whatever.
Because
I'm
I
pretty sure
remember
that was two.
because I think I played that one shortly after I got back from Japan, and I was just like, "This game rocks!"
The timeline on that would make sense if it was that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Rise of the Tomb Raider is the third one.
I always have to think about it. Rise is the second one.
Okay,
Shadow of the
Shadow of
Tomb
the
Raider
Tomb.
is the third one.
And that was I got for like, I bought that for like a song, a couple of years ago. Like that was like $1. And that's a great game. It was
The
just like
second
in
one?
a third one.
Oh, the third one.
Um,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for like, yeah, in like a bin. Just like, what the hell is
Oh,
this?
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway,
Yeah, those
yeah.
were a lot of
Those,
fun.
so yeah, playing Tomb Raider at Christmas, yeah, definitely, and that's a good game to watch someone play.
Yeah.
And I love that game. And The Last of Us, I remember being like, oh, okay, it's gonna be hard to beat Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
I had a blast doing that. And at first, it was like, this game's kind of slow, but then it was like it'd be like, I am not going to bed because there's no way I can put this down.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger at every stop. Like I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I see what's going on here. This
It was
game.
very good for like for a different reason, like,
Yeah.
compared to like comparing that to Tomb Raider, having played them both back to back. It was
Um,
very good in just different ways.
there's like to this day, I will have a nightmare once in a while of like a bloater ripping my like head off kind of thing. Because I remember in the first one, it's like
Oh yeah,
you're
that
in.
one had some brutal death animations too. If you got
Oh
caught,
God. Or sorry, not a bloater, a clicker.
clicker. Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. Yeah.
And like I remember it was like in the basement, like in an elevator. Like it was just like gonna pick up some ammo. Ah! Like rip your head off and just like it's really dark. Anyway, just
And
like
it
that
does that
game's
like dark, it sort of like flashes in and out as you're getting the creepy sort of
yeah, yeah.
strings like sound effect of, your death or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That game scared the crap out of me constantly. That game, oh, that was
It's
and
very
you're on edge
tense.
all the time. Like, you hear a pin drop and you'd like jump out of your seat. You were just like
Yeah.
stress level 11 nonstop in that game.
At
But
some point they remade the first game with the second game's engine for
oh,
PS5.
holy
Um
crap.
so it's still like full price, so like I'm not paying $90 for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I do have the remaster of the first one already anyway. But it is like a more significant overhaul like of the game.
Oh man.
Um
Okay, well, I
so
might have to check that out.
yeah, I'm gonna like it's been out not quite a year, I don't think yet. So like after it's out for a year, it'll start, going on for like half off or whatever. Like I'll pick it up at some point on sale. Because I've never actually fully replayed the first game again. I've only played it all the way through to the end once.
Oh, wow.
Um,
I'm probably the same, to be honest. Um, but as a quick sidebar, I remember 2020, which is when remake FF7 remake came out.
yeah,
And then it didn't win Game of the Year
because Last of Us
because
did.
Last of Us 2. Um, and I remember like being so angry. I was just like, how is FF7 remake not Game of the Year? Like
Totally
this whole
non-biased view at all.
oh, of course. Trust my non-biased review here. And I was like, no, this whole thing is stupid. Game of the year. It doesn't make any sense. And like, I'd been out of the game for a while. Like, I don't even. I was only paying attention to it because it was nominated, and I was like,
Right.
oh, of course, it's gonna win. And then my buddy Robbie lent me Last of Us 2. I feel like it's like last year or when I played it later than everyone else.
Yeah, I think you played it after you had got your PS5, I feel like.
Yes, that sounds right. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so not too long ago. 2020 wasn't that long ago, but anyway, still. Um, and then playing through it and then just being like, God damn it. Meaning like, yeah, of course this is game of the year. This game's effing incredible. Like of just like, why is this game of the year? Like, oh, and like being a fan of the franchise, it was just my FF7 bias.
Yeah,
But like playing
exactly. Yeah.
through and then like the twists and turns, and you're just like, oh, God damn, that's a good game.
Yeah. Yeah, I really
uh,
enjoyed my time with the second one as well. That
yeah.
I played it on PS4, and they've since come out with like a PS5 patch for it.
Uh,
I had a physical copy, and I assumed I probably wasn't going to play through it anytime soon. Like I haven't done the first one, so
yeah,
I
yeah,
just sold it. To That's like why I bought a physical or a disc version of PS5 is for the games that I might only play once, just
yeah,
to get some of that money back. And but then like or no, I guess no, because I played it on PS4. So I think I just didn't think I was gonna play it again,
yeah,
like the first one. But then it was like after I had sold it, they added like a PS5 patch. I was
yeah.
like, fuck. so
Whatever.
so I'll well,
I'll just
someday
buy it again.
I'll pick it up on. I've seen it go on sale for like $12 at this
Mhm,
point. So like I'll pick it up at some point when I want to
yeah.
play through it again.
But
Um,
yeah, kind of playing Last of Us at Christmas, vivid memory of mine. And yeah, I think you're right. It was kind of the second one I played, which would track closer to Christmas when you were super busy in retail, so
yeah,
maybe you didn't watch me play through it as much.
right.
But yeah, classic Christmas Garrett curated playlist
Yeah,
of
those were the
games.
two
Yeah,
big ones that year for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I have another one on my list. I don't
Yeah,
know if
that's the last of my big ones I want to talk
oh
about.
man, again, you're forgetting the most important one. Was Uncharted.
Oh
Um,
my god, of course. Maybe I'm
and
just like lumping that in with Tomb Raider because they're like such similar games, but
yeah, and so
okay.
it was
Yeah, that's totally true. Yep.
Uncharted
Would
2.
have been two. I for sure had Uncharted 2. That's like
Yeah,
practically why I bought a PS3 because Final Fantasy 13 wasn't out yet when I got my PS3.
yeah,
And I think it was like I wanted to play Uncharted 2 so bad that like I bought a PS3 on sale, like
yeah.
and bought that game like on the same day.
Because and
Yeah,
that game was like, holy crap! Like
yeah,
I was like, this is Tomb Raider, but with I don't know. There's I just thought that game, the storytelling was so good.
true. Because I
Um,
would have. I think I'm trying to think of because I had
and
Uncharted before Tomb Raider because I bought a PS3 for that game,
yeah,
but maybe I just didn't get you to play it yet because of the limited amount of time you'd have every year or whatever.
yeah. And I
So it
remember
would have come after Tomb Raider for
one
that reason.
Christmas was Uncharted 2, and one was Uncharted 3.
Yeah,
But and I never played Uncharted 1. The first time I played it, I bought like the
the
Nathan Drake
collection or something.
collection and played it like, I don't know, 3 years ago for the first time. And it was like, I've played 2 and 3, so it's a little bit of a more of a completionist thing, like, "Hey, I just wanna get the original story and
Yeah.
kinda whatever." But, but yeah, 2 is that the one where you ultimately end up, sorry, spoilers for anyone here, like, in a
Like
Atlantis or something, like an underground
it's like a
city?
temple, like a hidden city or something. Yeah, yeah. With
Yeah,
those like blue skin, like
pe
zombie things or whatever,
and
possessed things.
the 3rd one, you kinda go back in time or a
Yeah.
little bit,
You go back in time. I think it's like with you and your brother.
or
And
that might be 4 at least. 3,
oh
is mostly
yeah,
just like you and Scully,
that's right. Yeah, I think you're
uh,
right. Yeah. And you're in the
or
desert a lot
Sully,
in that
sorry.
one or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But, oh, those games are so good.
Yeah.
And then to this day, like, I was holding off on buying a PS4 until they announced that FF7 Remake was gonna be on PS4, so
Yeah.
I immediately went and bought a PS4. That's like the day I learned that Remake would be on a PS4, I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
guess I'm buying that." And at that point, Uncharted 4 had been out for a long time, so, like, I bought that for $3 at a Best Buy, like, sale
Okay.
bin, whatever, and I was just like, "This might be one of my favorite games of all time."
Yeah.
Uncharted 4 was so good,
Yep. And it's
eh
like it's one of those games where like, excuse me, you have to just like, because the biggest one of the biggest criticisms of that game is like you're such like this fun wisecracking guy and you are
yeah.
literally murdering hundreds of people. Like just shooting so many like actual people with families or whatever, like you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like you're just like you are a mass murderer and you're cracking jokes the whole time. And it's like
Yeah.
if and I get that criticism because when you look at it that way it's like really bad, but
Yeah.
it's like it's just one of those games if you can just turn that part of your brain off to be like whatever, it's like the equivalent of like a blockbuster movie, you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
I don't need
exactly.
it to make perfect sense and have all the real world consequences of whatever, you know. It's just like if you can just turn that part of your brain off and just go
Yeah.
along for the ride. Yeah, it's just like, and at the time it came out like a little later in PS4 life, at least a couple years,
Yeah.
and so like they were cranking up the visual, you know,
Ugh.
fidelity on that game to like a crazy degree.
And
um
just their thing, I feel like what's their something different is that the
the big set
cinematic
piece, yeah.
yeah, the cinematic nature of things, you just be like,
Which
"Oh,
again, turn that part of your brain off because none of it makes sense that he should still be
oh, yeah.
alive. Or
Yeah.
is that lucky? I read a thing once that was like, as you're getting hit or whatever, or getting damage in like the screen, I think it like turns like red around the
Mm,
edges or whatever.
mhm.
It's like if you play the game assuming that is his luck running out, it's a way cooler experience, and it's like it helps you like for people that can't turn that part of their brain off, but it's
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
like that's actually a good way of looking at it because like yeah he's getting shot a lot and he's fine,
Yeah.
so it's like if those are actually not hitting him, but it's like his luck is almost out that he's gonna actually take a shot and you
Yeah.
know whatever. I remember reading this whole thing about that and it's like oh that's like that's a interesting way to play those kind of games just to have like a different perspective on it, but anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
But
they're big set
it
piece moments and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And in terms of playing 2 or 3 at Christmas time and you watching, I feel like there's a lot of enjoyment that a backseat watcher can get out of because same kind of thing, the henchman would be like talking about something and I'd,
Yeah.
be around a
Throw a
pillar.
grenade or something.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a fuzzy memory of like either Uncharted 2 or 3, and it's like you're in a museum or something, and
You're trying to
I
steal
feel like
something.
I was in that scene for like an hour
Yeah,
doing
that was
doing
two, I'm
this
pretty sure.
doing the same thing, like knowing it was going to result in death, just because it was so hilarious and it was getting like a big roar out of you and I. Like, I don't even care about game progression right now. Like, I just like they talk, I run out from behind this pillar, guns ablazing, because it's just a hilarious dialogue that I interrupt.
Or
And
even because that game has really like realistic feeling like melee combat. Like when you
Mhm.
punch someone, like it really sounds like they're like a good, not like a comedic sound effect.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
just when they're having the talk, you just go
Yeah.
and like punch her in the back of the head or something. Like yeah, that was always really funny way to break up
And then his
henchmen.
5 henchmen unload on,
Yeah.
like a bazooka on me kinda thing.
And have like the classic like video game ragdoll where your whole body just goes limp and fall and crumples to the ground.
Yeah, sorry. That's a hilarious part of yeah, the ragdoll moments, and yeah, just like, oh, I wouldn't it be funny if, like, this this main villain with, like, 10 henchmen, if I just, like, popped out and slapped him in the face? It's like, yeah, that was hilarious. I got 10 AK-47s on me after that and died instantly, but,
Yeah.
like, man, that was
That slap
hilarious.
was good though.
Yeah, but that was a pretty good time. Let's do it again.
Yeah, pretty sure that was two because I remember there's a mission early on where you're trying to steal something or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and that might even there might be a scene like that in three too. But yeah, I remember that part you're talking about for sure.
yeah. And then the other one that I do vividly remember was that was the first Prime 3, Metroid Prime 3.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
because I remember I played one
Yeah,
feel
you were
like
still home at some point when we had a GameCube.
yeah, exactly.
So
So
you
I
would have
played
for sure
one
played one.
kind of at home.
Yeah.
Two, I randomly got a GameCube in grad school. Can't remember where. And then I got Prime 2 and I kind of would just play it once in a while. And uh, uh, like there's something games uh like games that if you go somewhere and then like it drains your energy, I
Yeah.
find those kinds of games difficult and I'll get frustrated by them.
Yeah.
Um and
They're
and with
stressful as hell.
yeah, it's like Prime 2, whenever you go to like the dark world, anytime that you're outside of those things, your energy would drain. And
Yeah.
like that's a mechanic that like I find that I get really frustrated with. And I think that's why it took me so long to kind of embrace Prime 2.
Yeah.
It also like it took me a while to embrace like Majora's Mask on the like countdown element
Yeah.
and just stuff like that. I'm just like, no, just let me do it at my own
Just a
speed.
constant stress. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So and then once I kind of just jumped in with both feet, um, I was like, oh, okay, Prime 2 is awesome.
Hmm.
And limited ammo and kind of things like that. I just get like stressed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but then so I finally played Prime 2, and then when I came home for Christmas, Prime 3,
On the Wii,
you on the
would
Wii,
have
which
that.
had
Yeah.
like the you would aim with the
Yeah.
stick or whatever. And
Well,
I was like,
it
that
was
game was
it was full pointer aiming,
mhm,
and then movement with the nunchuck or whatever. But it was
mhm.
like probably one of the best implementations because like that's what everyone tried to do when the Wii first came out, and
Yeah.
most of them did it very badly.
Yeah, no, it was really well done.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh nope, overshot that. Oh, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was really good response. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That is, and then so they eventually came out with a Metroid Prime trilogy on the
yeah.
Wii, which redid
Yeah.
one of the first and second games with those controls.
Which
Um,
you I'm gonna bet
yeah,
that you bought.
I did, of course. um, but anyway, so now that Prime One got remastered, everyone's hoping for sure. They're hoping that Prime Two gets remastered because it's the closest to Prime One.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
they're like, but how do you do three? Because that it'd be the point where like you'd lock onto the boss, but their weak points were these two things on their shoulders. So even you though you locked on, you still had to aim for those weak points or
Yeah,
whatever. So it's like
yeah.
you could do it. It would just take more than a copy paste effort from the
Uh,
Prime One remaster to Prime Two because the controls for that were the same.
mhm.
Um, but anyway, yeah, Prime Three. I love that game. That game is
That was
so good.
so good. And I feel like Dark Samus had a big part in that.
Yeah,
So it was, yeah. Anyways, that was a great game. I love the Prime games. And I remember being like, first person Metroid? I don't know.
yeah. Same with
And then it was just
everyone.
like, yeah. And it's like, oh, Prime 1 was a masterpiece. So
Yeah.
anyway. That was hard to pull off. I don't know.
Well, that's why Metroid skipped N64. Is because they just couldn't figure out how to make it work in 3D. They could
Yeah,
never
yeah,
do it to a level that was like satisfying enough for them to like greenlight the whole thing or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
And then they finally handed it off to a Western studio to like
yeah,
just like obviously I don't know all the details, but like you try something. Like we can't make it work.
yeah,
You
yeah,
try,
yeah.
and they came up with Prime. Um, and yeah, and it's like that game is still on a lot of like top 10 games of all time lists.
Oh,
Prime Line.
awesome.
And it looked
Yeah.
incredible for a GameCube game. Like
That's what I
it
mean. Yeah, it was
really
just like,
looked
whoa,
impressive.
okay.
And
Yeah,
which is why, like, so when Prime Remaster got announced a couple weeks ago, I was like, I know that game still looks good. I'm sure it could look better, like, because it was
yeah,
GameCube. But I was like, but man, it looked really good. So they showed the trailer for the remaster, and I was like, okay, like, I wasn't like jumping. I mean, I was happy that I could play it on the Switch.
yeah,
Um, but I was like visually, it just wasn't. And then like GameSpot or someone put up like a side by side, and it wasn't
yeah.
even it was side by side, but it was also like GameCube swipe to Switch version, and I was
Yeah,
like, holy shit, that looks way better. Like
yeah,
it's not that it
yeah,
looked
yeah.
bad, but it's just like new lighting techniques and stuff like that. And I was just playing it today, and like I remember how like dumb the wave beam kind of looked. That's like the purple one in Prime One. That's like the three waves that go out,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
because they just looked like pieces of paper like flapping in the wind because it was just this
Yeah,
thin like ribbon sort of shape.
yep.
And it's like whatever, like I get the effect it's going for, and like for the GameCube, it never bothered me, but it's just like it. And just playing it on the remaster, it looks so cool now.
Oh,
Like they look
nice.
much more like translucent sort of beams, and like even the way your gun lights up when you're charging that one just looks way cooler. So yeah, a lot of the enemies too. There's even I don't know if you remember like the big rock boss. It's just like and you had to use like the thermal visor to find like which rock was
Weak
weak.
points. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the original game, you would just do the visor, find the weak one, and then you hit enough times that it would make the room bright or whatever, and you had to turn the visor off and then shoot it normally because you could
Yeah,
see it weak, and it was just blue, and it
yeah,
was like okay, big glowing blue weak point. Like I get it, it's a video game, and
yeah.
on the remaster, it's like oh, it's Phazon corrupting it. You can
Oh,
actually
no
see.
way.
I was like, I never knew that because it was just
Like that's more story relevant than
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 And it's
Oh,
just
wow,
like the
that's awesome.
remaster taught me something about this game that I didn't know. And they did it like they did a really good job changing the controls to like dual stick.
Mm,
So like because the GameCube, I don't know if you remember, it controlled weird. It was like up, it was move forward and back, up and down, but
mhm.
left and right was like turn. It wasn't
Yeah,
strafe.
that's
And
right.
then you had to free aim. You had to push a button to like
Yep,
actually free aim.
yep, that's right, that's
So,
right.
so they give you an option to do it that way again, so that your right stick is like the C stick before,
Yeah.
um,
Or
but
to do a dual stick kind of, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
moving and looking or whatever. And it's
yeah.
like it's really well done. Like I feel like that's a thing they could have very haphazardly like whatever, like just make it like every other shooter. But it's like they're very thoughtful. They give you like uh the trigger to shoot or A because
Mm.
sometimes like hitting R fast is harder than hitting like A
A
fast,
fast, yeah.
and they give you like left like L1 or B to jump slash dash
Hmm.
because it's like and it's actually amazing because like you can jump without taking your hand off the looking control, like without
Yeah,
taking it
yeah,
off
yeah.
the right stick. And it's just like, why doesn't every shooter have their jump on a shoulder button? Like this is the at least, but a lot of shooters don't have a lot of platforming, right? And
Uh,
that's a big part of it. Um, and it's like it lets you like swap how you change visors. Like, do you want it to be this or this? Do you want your missiles to be here or here? Because then I found if I'm holding, because to do a super missile, it's hold down the beam and then press missile. And the
yeah,
missile by default is on like the R1. So
yeah.
it's like, and I do index finger on triggers. I don't do this.
It's same,
So
yeah.
it was hard to like to do
Do
it. So
that?
you
Yeah.
can, it's like, oh, do you want to make your missiles the X button? So then I can
Yeah.
actually like shoot a missile. Anyway, it's just, they could have very easily just be like, whatever, just put generic shooter controls.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Um,
they're really thoughtful about it though. Huh.
yeah, and then to give you the GameCube option for purists, and then they
Yeah.
give you like a gyro aiming hybrid where, because this does have gyro controls in it,
Oh,
so you can like aim. And I'm just, I tried it, like no, it's like no, I don't want that.
nah, that's too much. Yeah.
Yeah,
With the Wii, kind of it's a bit more different than, yeah, kind of gyroscope. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and there is a game that does it well called Splatoon, where I think aiming is entirely with the gyro, but it's just really well done. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's not. Maybe it's just fine tuning. But so it can be done. But with this game, it just didn't. I was like, no, 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 dual stick is fine. I
Yeah.
can make that work.
Yeah. I love the Prime games. They're so good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Retro is doing Prime 4, which is coming to Switch at some point. They announced it like 6 years ago.
Yeah, no,
So
exactly. I've been waiting for that. So, anyways, I'll probably get a Switch when that comes
yeah,
out.
don't worry. I will have a list of games for you when that
It'll
happens.
be part of your curated list. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So yeah,
so we kind of
so
went a
that's my
little.
list. Yeah.
That's your list. Okay, we
Yeah.
went a
Yeah.
little bit longer on that than I was expecting. But I mean, there's lots of good stories in there, so this will just be a longer episode. I don't care.
Yeah.
So we'll. The last thing I want to talk about, we're gonna revisit Matt's Platts as a segment. And I was just looking through your list, and a couple games popped out at me that I would like to talk. But I saw Prototype 2 is one you actually platinumed. And
Yeah.
I love that game so much.
Yeah.
I'm sad because it like doesn't work on PC anymore, because it like won't work with the newest version of Windows, or at least I can't figure out how to make it work.
Oh, weird.
Because that is a game that I think it worked up until the last like Windows 10 or whatever. But just on the new one, it just doesn't. I tried and it will not open.
Yeah.
That it was the perfect like I had a rough day or a busy day at work. Let me just throw some cars.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all I
No,
want to do.
totally. Totally.
So yeah, tell me about what you remember, because that might have, I don't know how long ago that was that you platinum that one, but
Yeah. No. So, this has a great connection to kind of our topic here. Was like, the reason I knew about Prototype 2 is because Prototype 1 was one of the curated games for Christmas. And I remember that was in your room, not downstairs in the big new expansion that Mom and Clarence had. So like
right.
on your tiny little TV in your room playing Prototype 1. And again, those types of games, I don't know what kind of, when you would call them, it's like kind of 3D beat 'em ups, whatever, like, but just like Arkham style, right? Like,
Yeah. Like
okay,
open
going
world kind of
going around,
sandbox.
throwing people around, like cars, like whatever, consuming whatever. Like it was just like, yep, level up, gain an ability, whatever, like an abilities tree. Oh, yep, okay, I want this skill, which will da 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 da. Oh, that's me 100%.
Yeah.
So I love that game. And then once I got the the PS3 and kind of brought that with me
So
to
you got this
Alberta.
platinum on the PS3 of this game. This wasn't like a
Yeah, yeah,
recent. Okay.
yeah. That and so I think that is my first platinum.
Really? Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
that when I picked it out.
So I remember being like, oh, okay, get a couple of trophies when I've been playing these games, and like, oh, what are some other trophies? And then it's like, oh, the platinum trophy is when you get everything. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's for just like crazy people.
Yeah.
Like I was like, platinum trophy is probably like beat it on the super extreme difficulty
Sure.
that is like impossible, or like, to me it was like
Like
only
really hard things to do always.
like the best player in the world might get a platinum trophy, and
Sure.
that's about it, whatever. And then I was looking through the achievements for that game. I was like, "Oh, these seem pretty achievable." It's like I was like, and I'm still really liking this game. Yeah, sure, I'll try to get a platinum trophy. And then I remember getting it. I was like, "Man, okay, sweet platinum trophy." So yeah, you can fact check me on that because they have date stamps on them. But yeah, I think that's my
I mean,
first
if it
one.
was if it was one you got on the PS3, then that could very easily be. I would say that or 13 too would probably be amongst your first
Yeah.
platinums, I would think.
Yeah, exactly, and I think part of it might have been because, like, looking at the achievements required to get platinum on FF13,
It is
which I have not
insane.
got, which and I know you did,
Yes.
because I remember you telling me, like, "Look, I've got a platinum on, like, every Final Fantasy except that one. I'm just gonna do it," and I was like, "Oh, man, you have to, like, have held every item or
Yeah.
weapon or something," and I
I'll
was just
talk
like,
about that someday because
yeah.
that was brutal.
And I was like, man, I'm a Final Fantasy, super fan, and even I was like, nope, yeah, I'm not even touching that. And so I was like, oh man, I should get. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get every Final Fantasy trophy. Let's start with 13. Nope, screw
No.
this.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was like an incomplete set is an incomplete set. So I was like, screw it,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Um,
And to be fair, I got 13 like a year ago or
yeah,
something.
no, this is
It
very
was
recently.
very recently
Yeah,
that I finally was like, okay. Because then I started like, I got the 7 remake ones, I got
yeah,
15, I got, uh, I don't think I had done 7, 8, and 9 yet. But it's just like, I was just like, I want the Final Fantasy Platinums.
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
yeah, that was recently that I finally decided to do that.
No, totally, and even and recently, I've been like, "Maybe I should," and then just like, "Nope, no chance. I'm not doing
Just
that."
wait for the remaster. You can do it then.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so Prototype 2
Yeah.
was, I remember saying, all of this, it's not like beat it on the insane difficulty, get every item ever and never die, whatever. Like it was like, oh, okay, no, I can do this. And so yeah, I think it was my first platinum. And
Okay.
that game is awesome. Yeah.
My favorite memory, two things or three things that I love doing about that in that game is there's the big blade, the one blade arm that you get,
Yeah.
and you get a move where you can like crash down with that move.
Yeah.
And I just love jumping off like the tallest building and starting it way up and
Yeah.
just what the visual effect, the sound it makes, like it's just the most satisfying combination of like senses. And when you crash and it goes like slow motion right when you hit and stuff, and
Yeah.
all the people screaming.
Yeah.
There's that. There's the little like tether or like tentacle arm
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
jumping from like chopper to chopper, taking
Yes.
throwing
Yeah.
the pilot out, and then like I don't need this. I didn't come to this for the vehicle. I just wanted to, and then I'll go to another one and tether to that
Yeah.
one and do
You'll like be
that.
in the air and like, and it's just like,
Yeah,
like, yep. It was just because there was another chopper nearby.
yeah, because it's like the evolution of like the GTA wanted system. Like people start coming after you when you start
Mhm.
destroying all this stuff. And then
Yeah.
the other one was it was like I forget the name of the move, but it was like you could like turn a person into like a tether bomb.
Yeah.
And they were just like they're like, and then all of a sudden, like tentacles would fly out in every direction and like grab vehicles or people and
Yeah.
just yank them all in at the same time, and everything would just go flying and explode. And it
Oh
would
yeah.
just do this slow down, like bullet time moment when that
Yep.
happens.
Oh,
That's
and
just so
anyone
fun.
nearby is like, "What are you playing?" And just like, "Yeah, this game's
I know.
awesome."
Yeah, there's and I think those are like the three things that I would do because I think it was you could either like stealthily do that move to someone or you could like charge up your like tentacle like attack and you would like swing and hit them and then like send the bomb like into them even if it was
Yeah,
like a vehicle or something and then it
yeah.
would do that and just like like picking up a vehicle and a pedestrian would be like huh. It's just like whoops. um just stuff like that. Like you said, like the classic like henchman or like pedestrian, voice lines. Like,
AI,
oh, what are you
yeah, yeah.
doing? Take this truck.
"Help!
Uh,
Police!"
you can like body surf on people and then
Yeah,
kick their
that's right.
body at
And
other
kick them
people
off at the end. Yeah, yeah.
or
Oh,
someone.
like
the other one that I just would do over and over, and like I swear I'm not a sociopath,
Yeah,
is you're like just like blending in, walking as like some like businesswoman like disguise, and you
yeah,
bump into someone and like, the hell's wrong with you? And you're just like and
yeah.
just grab them and like run straight up a building and then just like charge up a throw and just huck them as far as you
Oh, yeah. No, literally, like,
could.
I'm on a normal mission. I'm going to do a normal mission. Bump into someone. Hey, man, watch where you're going. Oh, well, here we go. Just
It's
I'm
like,
destroying a city. It's like, I am walking on paper thin level of emotions at all time. Like, hey, man, what the crap? And you're like, I'm gonna throw you into the next, country.
it was one
Oh
of those
man.
things that I could do over and over and over, and it never stopped making me laugh.
Yeah.
Just like, just like you will die now, and just like literally sprinting up a building with them, and they're like, "Oh, oh, what are you doing?"
That's right.
I
You grab
swear
them
I'm not a
and like
sociopath.
Spider-Man style, like going up a building and they're just like flailing, like you you very subtly bumped into the wrong person today.
And it was a funny thing about that game too is that there was this game called Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction or something on like
Mm,
GameCube and whatever other consoles of that. I think it was probably PS2. And it was by that team that
mm.
made the prototype games. And it was a lot of like but it was like toned down because it was the Hulk, so we couldn't
Oh,
just murder
Marvel, yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah,
But you could
yeah,
like pull up like a telephone pole or like a got street light and
yeah,
like golf swing it to like hit cars and just stuff like that. But you could
yeah,
they had to keep the Marvel sensibilities or whatever and not
yeah.
actually murder anyone. Um, and then I just remember being like, feeling like a little bit like that could have been like you're just missing that little extra for being the Hulk. Like he
Yeah,
feels a little too tame
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
this, and then Prototype comes out a couple years later, and I was just like, I think I knew because I think I watched a review for it, and they had referred to the
Oh, okay.
Hulk game, so I knew it was made by those people, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I wanted, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anti-hero, like no rules,
Yeah,
and then the second one just like was like one of those sequels that just does everything better than the first game,
yeah. Oh, I know.
like
And
improved on every aspect to me.
learn a new move, test it out on a few cop cars, like
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
no, that was a good game. So no, I was pretty proud to get that platinum. So yeah, I think that was my first one.
So because that was so long ago, I didn't expect that. I don't know if you remember if there were any that were hard to do, or they were just like, oh, as long as you know that you need to do this, you can do it. Like it's easy to do. It's just I wouldn't have thought to try that or something.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember any of the achievements for it, but I feel like it was max out every skill, and I was like,
Sure.
okay, I could do that. Maybe beat it on hard or maybe not the hardest difficulty. I feel like there were things like get to the top of the tallest building,
Okay.
whatever.
Sure.
And like there were things like that in Arkham, where
Yeah.
I was just like, well, how the hell am I supposed to? Oh yeah, internet. Okay,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, get to the top of this, and then like, oh, this is pretty cool to be like, top of the Empire State Building or whatever.
Yeah.
And so just like things you got to hunt down, but you just go on PS trophies, whatever, and just kind of figure it out. But yeah, I remember that being not very difficult at all. It was just more
Just
about,
had to know
and
what to look like, what you had to do. Like
yeah,
it's like you had to just look up where, like, okay, what do you want me to do? Okay, I can do that. No problem. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
and none of it was very grindy,
Okay.
or like 'cause I remember one for Arkham, might have been the one that's like the prequel kind of thing where it was like fly under all the bridges in one thing. And so I was like, okay, well, I know where all the bridges are, but like,
Just
and
gotta
so you just
do it.
watch a YouTube video. It's like start here and like, oh, okay, that was pretty easy. But
Okay.
um, This one was like, I needed to look up what they were, but I didn't need to look up how to do them kind of
Okay.
thing. Which was a pretty low activation barrier for me. And so it was
And
just like,
I
oh,
honestly like those kinds of trophies where it's like it's not even executing it is not hard. It's just like, oh, I just didn't know I could do that thing this way or something.
yeah, yeah.
And that's always just a fun way to like see other angles of a game you've already played.
Yeah. And so it was yeah, and it was like, oh, okay, maybe platinum trophies are not as unattainable as I've kind of made them out to be. And I think Final Fantasy 13 2 might have been the next
Yeah.
one that I got. But and I remember that one being like, oh, uh, amass $10,000 at the casino or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh
I put a
and,
movie on Netflix and I just had the controller in my hand hitting
and
like
so
replay over and over.
I was like, I read like, look, go in with like $1,000 and just like tape the X button down. And so I remember having memories of like put a chair on it, Mega Man X or Mega Man 3 style. So I gently put something heavy on the X. I was like, oh, doesn't weigh enough. This doesn't weigh enough. Oh, this does. Okay, cool.
Sure.
I'll see you in a couple of hours. And I remember being like, well, young me would have put a chair on this. But I
Because we
want to,
did.
yeah, yeah. But I want to save. I know what that does to my controller. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that might have been the second one. But yeah, Prototype 2. I think it was the first one.
Okay, cool. I did not
Yeah,
think that was the origins of it when I
yeah,
pulled that off the list. I just saw that game and instantly was sad that I can't play it because it doesn't work anymore.
yeah.
Uh, and I just love. I didn't even know. I don't. I looked at some of the trophies, but like I didn't remember enough about the game to like. I don't know if this was hard or not, but
No, no,
uh,
yeah, it was definitely easy, which kind of helped me get into like, oh, okay, platinums are a nice accomplishment. And with a lot of games, it's like with the games that I don't have a platinum on are when it's like
beat it on
diff
every difficulty
on
and
every difficulty,
yeah, I
and
hate that.
it'll be like, I'm kind of done with this game, and I don't feel the need to do this. And my buddy Cam, his philosophy
He
is
plays it on the hardest.
the first time he plays
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
I
and
went through
because of
that
that.
phase and I did it for like a year, but it's just like it's not a way to enjoy games for me.
No, and like again, in my totally unbiased opinion, getting platinum on FF7 remake was like that was like I have now experienced the full game. Like
Yeah.
that to me was like you haven't played the game fully until you get the platinum, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
And it's like it's funny because it's literally like between 15 and 7 remake where they're just like okay, let's revisit what we want to make trophy worthy because
yeah, yeah,
15
yeah,
had some annoying ones to get. Um and it's like I still did it, but it was rough. Like some of them were hard to do. Um, and like 13.2 and 13 and like Lightning Returns, I feel like were fair. I felt like those were there was a couple one or two grindy ones in Lightning Returns, but they were still like doable.
yeah,
13 was its own problem. But I feel like between 15 and 7 remake, they like reevaluated what to do for trophies. And
yeah,
I agree that 7 remake is like, yes, if like every Final Fantasy game is like requires this type of, investment to get the like that's what I want. It's like you just get to like you said, you fully experience the game once you've gone through
yeah,
all of those. And so then when I went back to like 7 and 8, those were okay to get. Those weren't too bad. 9 was brutal, and 12 was so brutal. And we'll talk about those
that
another time. But yeah, it's just like they
yeah,
didn't figure it out by that point. I haven't gotten 10 yet because one of them is like fill out the sphere grid for one character, which is like tens of hours of just grinding for that. And
yeah.
then it's like when you're in like the lightning thunder plains or something where it randomly strikes lightning,
Dodge
you
a
gotta
hundred.
dodge
Yeah.
like 100 or like it's just like what the I think it's more than 100, but it's just like
I
I don't want to do that.
I think I have platinum for FF10. Um,
Really?
yeah.
My God.
Or if I don't, I at least have accomplished the lightning dodging
Ugh,
thing. Because I think you need it for one of the major weapons.
I think so. The
Yeah,
celestial weapons or whatever they call them.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I there's some rage quits
Ugh.
from from that. Yeah. But
'Cause- And I
yeah.
don't think you can save to like keep your progress.
Oh no, no, you
You
can't.
have to do it in
Yeah,
like one go.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
one day. Because I think I said this on the podcast. When the Pixel remasters come out on PlayStation, I'm buying them, and obviously, and I'm gonna platinum them, and then I will have every mainline Final Fantasy platinumed except 10. That'll be the only one I'm missing.
All
So it's
right.
like
Well,
I'm
there you go.
gonna do it at some point. I just don't know when. And oh, that's what I was gonna say is it makes me excited about Final Fantasy 16 because like I hope that their like platinum trophy
It's
philosophy
achievable.
is
Yeah.
in line with 7 remakes because I think I might have told you I booked a week off for that game already.
Nice.
So I'll be ready to like no life that game for 7 straight
I
days.
uh I haven't now that I've been home for just a couple of days, but I have not started Crisis Core yet because I
Oh yeah.
worry that that's just going to be like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is my life now.
Luckily the
Uh,
way that game is structured, it's easy to do it in like short
okay, good.
bursts because it was a PSP game originally, so it's kind
Yeah,
of designed to be mobile, like portable friendly.
yeah,
So it's an easy game to just pick up for 45 minutes and do a mission or two and then
yeah,
put it back down.
perfect.
So
No,
yeah,
that's good.
it's not as you won't get that desire to grind, for hours and hours like some of the mainline ones.
It'll keep me busy until Rebirth comes out. So anyways, yeah.
Yes. And then God, this is just gonna be Final Fantasy talk again, but I don't know if you're planning on getting 16. But yeah, that's this summer. It's coming
Yeah.
soon.
Oh man.
And I think the producers tweeted out the other day, it's like, I promise Final Fantasy 16 won't be delayed unless a meteor hits Japan or something. Like, okay, it's coming. It's done. The
Yeah,
game is finished.
that's awesome.
But anyway.
But I've got a list of a million games to keep me
Yeah, yeah.
busy. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Octopath 2 just came out.
I
I know
know.
I had
Oh,
mentioned that to you around Christmas, and yeah, that game's fantastic.
yeah. But anyway, okay. Well, I got my work. I
Yeah.
have my I have my curated list, whether it's Christmas or not.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, okay, I think unless you have anything else to say about Prototype 2, I think we covered it. Went a little over time, like I said, but whatever. I don't care. It's fun.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
now that you're back in your home setup, it's nice to just get a good chunk of stuff off of
yeah.
the docket that we were planning on talking to in this podcast at some point.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it then, I guess. Thanks everyone for watching as usual. And yeah, I don't know when our next one will be. I don't know exactly what our topic will be yet. So I'll figure that out and we'll probably be up in the next couple of weeks.
Beauty. Yeah, and hopefully everyone else has lots of memories of Sunday night gaming sesh with cousins or things like that
Family
coming over.
visits and yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was
Yeah, that's
clearly
like the
very easy for us to talk for like almost 3 hours about that stuff.
yeah, just like golden era of gaming, pre-internet, really.
Yeah, it
So
was. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah. So no, anyways, that's just I know I always think like what are other people's experiences like this because for us it was such a critical part. So anyways,
Yeah,
hopefully everyone else has fun memories like that too,
for
and
sure.
fun like inside jokes and stories.
Yeah. Fun
Yeah.
stories of throwing Power Rangers downstairs and laughing like morons for hours at a time.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, cool.
Perfect.
No, this was fun.
Right on. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers, everyone. Take care.